Have 6 p.m. and I'd like to go ahead and call this meeting of the San Benito County Planning Commission to order. Do we have CMAP ready? Thank you.
Oh, there we go.
Okay. And if we could have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Gibson, please.
Ready, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And could we have the roll call, please?
Okay. District 1, Vincent Ringhayden.
Present.
District 2, Richard Way.
Present.
District 3, Robert Scagliotti.
Present.
District 4, Robert Gibson.
Present.
District 5, Bobby Thomason.
Present.
Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Moving on to department announcements. Abraham?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I have department announcements regarding the discretionary permits that have come in since our last regular planning commission meeting of May, and I have them up in the screen as well. And so far, we've gotten 2 discretionary permit applications. One application number PLN 250056, and this pertains, as also up on the screen, to a proposed minor subdivision of 2 adjacent parcels along Best Road, totaling approximately 198 acres into 4 lots and a remainder parcel. Parcel 1 would consist of 5 acres. Parcels 2 and 3 would consist of 5.84 acres. Parcel 4, with 1 existing single-family home, would consist of 174.82 acres, and the remainder parcel with 1 single-family home would consist of 6.14 acres. The property is located at 5201 Best Road. It's approximately 1.25 miles to the east of the intersection of Fairview and Airline Highway. The property has a residential rural land use general plan designation. The second application that we received is a conditional use permit application PLN 250044, and it is for an outdoor event venue on a private ranch consisting of approximately 6.09 acres. The venues proposed would consist of weddings, parties, and community gatherings. The site features open air gazebos on a landscape lawn and a parking area. Proper ingress and egress and other potential significant impacts that the project may have would be analyzed during the project review process. The applicant has not yet specified the number of events per year or the number of people anticipated per event, which is very crucial information that we would need in order for us to process the application. The property is located at 439 Briggs Road, which it is to the east of Highway 25, to the south of Flint Road, and to the west of San Felipe Road. The general plan designation of the site is, with the County of San Benito, is agricultural, and it is actually within the sphere of influence of the city of Hollister as well. And so there's a few things that we need to look at this. For example, because it is adjacent to a city of Hollister parcel off of Citation Way, depending on the number of occupants per venue, and in working with environmental health, if they decide that septic is not proper for sewer, or water, or well not proper for water, and they want to connect, they want them to connect, then this whole application would take a different process, either an out of jurisdiction request with the city of Hollister and LAFCO, or potentially annexation. But all of that is going to be during our review process within the next few weeks. So these are the 2 applications that we received since the last planning commission meeting. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thanks. Are there questions from the commission for Abraham regarding this? Okay. I'm sorry, go ahead. No. Okay. Are there public comments regarding these announcements?
We do not have any public comment in chambers or on Zoom.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to general public comment, this is your opportunity to address the Planning Commission regarding items that are within our purview but are not on tonight's agenda. Are there general public comments?
We do not have any general public comments in chamber or on Zoom.
Thank you. Moving on to the consent agenda, these items will be considered as a whole unless anybody needs to remove any item from the consent agenda. Tonight's consent agenda items consist of acknowledging the certificate of posting for tonight's meeting, approving the minutes from April 30th, May 21st, and June 4th, and appointing Commissioner Gibson to the Ag Element Stakeholder Planning Group. Is there any public comment on the consent agenda?
We do not have any public comment in chambers or on Zoom.
Okay. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Okay, hearing none. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the consent agenda is approved 5-0. Moving on to item 7.1 of the public hearing. This is review and potentially adopt the attached resolution recommending the Board of Supervisors amend draft ordinance provisions of Title 23. This is the roads section. And I will pass this off to Steve Loop from our Public Works Department to explain what we're considering. So thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, Chair, Commission, members of the public. We are going to be discussing amendments to Title 23, Chapter 23, and a few sections in that regard regarding subdivisions specifically. And so at the direction of the Commission, we can re-review some of the revisions that we've discussed that are in red, or at your direction, we can jump to the changes that have occurred since our previous meeting, so.
I'm thinking, unless there's an objection from the others here, that for the benefit of some of the public who are here who may not have been present at the previous meeting, we should probably bite the bullet and just go ahead and go through the entirety of the changes that we're considering.
Okay, will do. So we will start with just a basic definition, and we are in Section 2301-004 definitions under Chapter 2301. The Commission has decided that we'll add the term frontage, and frontage shall be defined as a project site's property boundary along the county right-of-way and include both sides of the abutting road unless otherwise determined by the county engineer or the planning commission. And then we've added some clarification for urban level services, which are now defined as for unincorporated areas. A legal parcel is wholly within the boundaries of an urbanized area or urban cluster as designated by the United States Census Bureau. Then, just to give a little bit of context, we're now under Chapter 2317, Standards for Improvements. Item B, the Planning Commission has decided to implement the following verbiage. Sidewalks, curbs, gutters, and undergrounding of public utilities shall also be required for subdivisions in those areas where the Planning Commission or the Board of Supervisors, by condition, resolution, or an adopted specific plan, calls for urban level services. Sidewalks, curbs, gutters, and undergrounding of public utilities may also be required at the discretion of the county engineer. Then we'll jump to 2317-003, required improvements. Subdivisions of 5 or more lots. And here we encounter the verbiage that has been updated per the last meeting with the commission. Staff reviewed the meeting minutes, the video, and we're hopeful that this verbiage accomplishes the goal of the commission. So we'll have that discussion, and I'll read through the improvements. So Section A, all subdivisions that consist of 5 or more lots shall have frontage, property dedications, and frontage improvements as required by Title 23 of the code, and shall improve the full width of the road along the frontage of the parcel being developed. Subsection B, all subdivisions that consist of 5 to 50 lots, the applicant shall be required to perform a traffic nexus study to determine the project's impact to the county's roadway system. That study shall include recommendations to mitigate such impacts, and those mitigations, at a minimum, shall be incorporated into the conditions of approval for the project. And then, per previous discussions, we'd also, during the last meeting, discussed, okay, if there are 5 to 50, 51 to 500, or 500 to 1,000, or 500 or more lots, and how maybe we could break out those conditions. But we thought maybe a mechanism that would accomplish the will of the commission is to just anything over 50, more than 50 lots, that application will be subject to this condition C, which says all subdivisions that consist of more than 50 lots, and including the aforementioned traffic nexus study in B above, the applicant and/or project owner may enter into a development agreement with the County of San Benito. The development agreement shall comply with Title 19 of the County Code. The rules, regulations, and policies in effect at the time of execution of the development agreement govern the agreement. However, this does not prevent the county from applying non-conflicting rules, regulations, or policies, nor does it prevent the denial of a subsequent development project application. And then we'll jump to paragraph D. The improvements required for all subdivisions of 5 or more lots shall be consistent in concept, alignment, and level of improvement with the circulation and transportation element of the general plan, area plan, master plan, and any applicable specific plan, as well as any streets and highways master plan, where necessary to ensure traffic safety and ease of circulation. Off and on-site traffic control devices such as signing and signalization shall be required. Whenever the subdivider is required to dedicate land for trails or bikeways, the county engineer may require the same to be improved if necessary to comply with general plan, area plan, master plan, or specific plan or implementing ordinances. This requirement is subject to change at the discretion of the county engineer as is necessary to mitigate impacts to public health, safety, or orderly development. Subdivisions of 4 or fewer lots. All subdivisions of 4 or fewer lots shall have frontage, property dedications, and frontage improvements as required by the Title 23 of the code, which includes but is not limited to half the width of the subject property's frontage, consistent in concept, alignment, and level of improvement with the circulation and transportation element of the general plan, area plan, master plan, and any applicable specific plan, as well as any streets and highways master plan, and to the extent legally owned by the applicant, at a minimum, these minor subdivisions shall be required to have property dedications and driveway improvements along the width of their frontage, where necessary to ensure traffic safety and ease of circulation. Off and on-site traffic control devices such as signing and signalization shall be required. Whenever the subdivider is required to dedicate land for trails or bikeways, the county engineer shall require the same to be improved if necessary to comply with the general plan, area plan, master plan, or specific plan or implementing ordinances. This requirement is subject to change at the discretion of the county engineer as is necessary for public health, safety, or orderly development. If further subdivision of the property occurs within 10 years of the previous subdivision that further subdivides the property such that it will cumulatively result in 5 or more lots, then the requirements for improvements in section 23-17-003A1 shall be required as applicable. For purposes of this chapter, frontage shall be defined as a project site's property boundary along the county right-of-way includes both sides of the abutting road, unless otherwise determined by the county engineer or the planning commission. Improvements required of the abutting road shall not include private property not owned by the applicant or the county. And, whoop, sorry about that. So now we're in section J, which is somewhat of a repeat of what was read previously. Improvement requirements under subdivision of 4 or fewer lots. Whenever the county requires improvements for a division of land, which is a subdivision of 4 or fewer lots, such requirements may include but are not limited to the dedication of rights-of-way easements along half the width of their frontage, improvements along the entire project site, and the construction of reasonable off-site and on-site improvements for the parcels being created. Requirements for the construction of such off-site and on-site improvements shall be noticed by a statement on the parcel map, record of survey, or other such means as approved by County Council. Fulfillment of these construction requirements shall not be required until the time a permit or other grant of approval for development of the parcel is issued by the county, or until the time the construction of such improvements is required pursuant to an agreement between the subdivider and the county, provided, however, that in the absence of such an agreement, the county may require fulfillment of such construction requirements within a reasonable time frame following approval of the parcel map and prior to the issuance of a permit or other grant of approval for the development of a parcel, upon a finding by the appropriate decision-making body or the county engineer that fulfillment of the construction requirements is necessary for either of the following reasons. A, the public health and safety or substantial property rights, or B, the required construction is a necessary prerequisite to the orderly development of the surrounding area. Thank you for entertaining my not great enunciation. I appreciate that. So.
No, thank you. That was great. I appreciate your bearing with me for that request to go through the whole thing. So I do appreciate that. Questions from the commission. I know I have comments. I have to suppress my desire to use my time for questioning to do my comments, because that impinges upon the public's comment time. So I'll suppress those. Are there questions from the commission for Steve? Not at this time. Okay. Are there public comments?
If you'd like to make a comment in chambers, please provide a speaker card, and on Zoom, use the raise hand icon feature by dialing *9. In chambers, we have Seth Capone. You may now approach the podium.
Good evening, commissioners. I just had a quick question about J1, where it talks about subdivisions of 4 or fewer lots, and the language says that dedicating the right-of-way may be required, and it doesn't say shall be required. I thought that was pretty much standard, that we required that in the past, and I know that if we put the may language in, we get ourselves into trouble later on when we require it, or when people try to not have us require it. Thank you.
There appears to
Thank
be
you.
no additional public comment in chambers or online.
Okay, thank you. All right, bringing it back to the commission then. I have a comment with regard to item C under 23.17.003. Steve, this would be your page 6 of 9. This is our page 49 of the packet. I'm concerned about the wording. The project owner may enter into a development agreement. Well, I don't think we can force somebody to enter into a development agreement by definition of the term agreement. What happens if they can't come to an agreement? I guess maybe this is as much a question for council as for staff.
Right, you're correct there. We can't force somebody to enter into a bilateral agreement, including a development agreement, so thus the may.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what if they don't? We don't have a fallback here. If they don't enter into a development agreement, then what is their obligation? If there's no development agreement to be had, then what do we require of them if absent an agreement?
If I may, they still have to
Sure.
do the nexus study,
Yeah.
and that's where we can figure out if they owe the community members some improvements to the roads.
Yeah, that's correct. So they'll have to dedicate the frontage. They'll have to improve their frontage. They'll have to perform the nexus study, as the commissioner just mentioned, and going through CEQA, larger projects often have to do studies, and those studies actually open up other opportunities, I guess you'd say, or options for improvements or mitigation requirements, I'll say. So, if that answers your question.
Okay.
I
All
think
right.
it's more of a suggestion maybe to the developers may, just to point out that they can, I'm not sure. I think we could ask legal why they put that language in there. Is it just, is a suggestion?
Right, it just sort of, indicates that they could enter into one and sort of raises that, highlights it, sort of thing,
All right.
No harm, no foul?
Okay, fair enough.
Right.
All right. That was pretty much the extent of my comment. I think I do agree with Seth's comment regarding the shall versus may on the J1 under the 4 lots. But anyway.
I would concur.
Yeah, thank you. Other comments, maybe starting with Commissioner Scagliotti?
No, this is fine with me. I'm good with what's going on here so far.
Okay, Commissioner Gibson?
Well, since I didn't get to do my 10 miles of road, I don't like the 10-year look back. I'd rather increase it to 20. If we're giving up what we were going for in the first place, I'd rather have a longer look back period. Given that we have the generational developers in the county.
Is there a-
I'll agree with that.
Is there a consensus for doing that?
Yes.
Yeah.
That
I
would be on
be
page
okay with
7
that.
of 9, yeah.
Since we came from an unlimited look back, I think 20 years isn't a horrible change.
I would go with that.
We were at unlimited. Let's go back to unlimited.
I'd be fine with that too.
I'll make that motion.
So
Well, then we would just say if further subdivision of the property occurs, such that it will cumulatively result in 5 or more lots, then the requirements for improvements shall be required as applicable in section 23.17. We'll just strike the business about within X number of years.
that works for me too. If
I'm good
Okay.
with that.
Okay. And where was the shall versus may?
Page-
Oh, there it is, J1, on page 9 of 9,
J1's the second
52.
sentence.
Yep.
And just for clarification, the reason that staff put may is because there's a list of multiple things that's in that sentence. But at the direction of the commission, we can change that to shall. So.
county council, could we just get his?
Please. Sean, you have a reaction?
No unintended consequences, hopefully.
Okay.
Okay, then with those 2 items noted, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
Do we need a roll call, or shall we just, all right, let's just, all those in favor say aye.
I
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much. Moving on to item 7.2. This is about the local tenant preference in our ordinance chapter 21. And I guess we'll have the presentation by Ariel, please. Thank you.
It actually will be by Stephanie Reck.
Oh, okay.
Through Zoom. I'm just forwarding
Right.
the slides.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Hi, Commissioner Stephanie Rex, Senior Planner. Thank you for allowing me to present remotely today. So as we continue to discuss how to plan for the county's housing needs, I'm here to present the Commission's recommended edits to the local tenant preference, which is Chapter 2104, and would be added to Title 21, the Building and Engineering Code. So the local tenant preferences established in this ordinance support access to housing for all residents and workers of San Benito County. So next slide, please. So during the April 30th, 2025 public hearing, the Planning Commission recommended the following edits to the local tenant preference. They asked staff to review the weighting of preferences and remove any bonus points. They asked staff to include a 1-year durational preference, which I would like to note now is not recommended by County Council. They recommended staff to authorize the Director of Planning and Building to regulate the local tenant preference, and they requested for staff to gather public input. So the draft was shared with Sunny Flores and Seth Capron. I do see that Seth is in chambers, and so he can speak to his comments after this presentation per your request. So next slide. As a brief overview, this hasn't changed, but the purposes of the ordinance are to remedy a potential displacement and gentrification impacts, provide the opportunity for existing residents to afford housing in the county, encourage neighborhood stability by providing a means for residents who've been active in the community to then remain in the community. It provides opportunities for neighborhood residents that are living in inadequate housing conditions to qualify for housing units and without leaving the community, and then preserving existing residents' continued ties to our community, including schools and businesses and other such services. Next slide. So again, the scope of this ordinance will cover projects that have 4 or more attached or detached units. It will cover units that are restricted as affordable housing, any projects that receive development assistance from the county for new construction or substantial rehabilitation, projects where development assistance was approved by the Board of Supervisors, the Planning Commission, or the Planning Director, and then any affordable unit produced pursuant to our inclusionary housing regulations, that's Title 2103. Next slide, please. So here are the original preferences we reviewed on April 30th. So preferences to displaced households include anything as a result of a code enforcement activity or involuntarily displaced due to natural disasters, and anyone where the displacement has occurred, whether it's like no fault of their own, whether an eviction occurred, or any evictions that occurred within 1 year of the date of the application. So for preferences to neighborhood residents, a neighborhood residence means a household with 1 adult member who their place of residence at the date of application is within the county district where the project is located. So essentially, if you live near the project, you would be getting a preference point. So preferences for San Benito County residences, so anyone who's an adult member and their place of residence at the date of this application is within the county. And again, the 1-year durational preference you recommended would apply to all of these preferences. So next slide. So the Planning Commission recommended for staff to remove the additional weighting of points under preference 3 and included them as overall preferences eligible to all county residences. And so those preferences include preferences for workers. So that includes any household within a member who's employed by an employer located within the county or might own a business within the county. Number 5, preferences to residences with high rent or household costs means anyone who spends more than 50% of their current income on rent or other household costs. Preferences to residences with children in a local school district. So if your children attend one of the county school districts, you're eligible for a preference. And then preferences for agricultural employees. We discussed whether to remove the term farm workers, so we did focus on agricultural employee, which is someone who's employed by an agricultural employer, as defined by our county code, Title 25, who engages in agriculture as defined in our county code, or participates in agricultural processing as defined in our county code. So residency must be sufficiently established. You could use a lease agreement, a driver's license, a utility bill, paychecks, pay stubs, or enrollment letters. So these preferences shall apply to the initial rent or sale of a project and for the term of affordability of that project pursuant to Title 2103, the inclusionary housing regulations. So whether that be 30 years or 55 years, the preferences will stand for that term. Next slide. So regarding implementation, staff included a breakdown of how to calculate the preferences. Each preference and an individual qualifies for will equal 1 point. The more preferences they qualify for, the more points they will receive on their application. The property owner and management agents will have the primary responsibility to qualify applicants under this code, and the county may set qualification standards and verify eligibility of the preferences described. This preference policy shall be included as a term in any regulatory agreements between the county and a developer if any project qualifies. Next slide, please. So with regards to limitation, item A is actually not a new addition, but it was a statement that appeared in an earlier section of this text and was more appropriate to move into limitations. So essentially, a project owner retains discretion to select eligible applicants. The policy does not require owners to approve applicants who are not qualified. And then item C was added per your recommendation to require a 1-year durational preference for residency. Again, not recommended by county council. And then D, the policy shall only be applied to the extent that other funding sources do not prohibit the preference. And E, as long as it does not violate law. And so I would just like to further discuss item C for a moment regarding the durational preference. Staff would like to note again that county council does not recommend including a durational preference in the code. It can be legally challenged and potentially violates fair housing laws. Staff spoke with the city of Santa Cruz, who also have a 1-year durational preference for local tenants, which has been included in their policy, but the policy was adopted by resolution. It's not actually codified into their legal text. So they noted that their legal counsel also has flagged similar concerns regarding fair housing laws, and that they essentially don't implement the provision. They said it's difficult for them to verify whether a project owner has established through documentation the 1-year residency of an applicant. So essentially it's difficult regulation to implement, and the potential for opening it up to fair housing lawsuits means that they don't actually implement it. I just want to take the moment. Would council like to add anything further at this time?
No, I'll just add that also the privileges and immunities clause may conflict with that too. So it's a U.S. constitutional sort of situation too.
Thanks, Sean. So next slide then, Ariel. So finally, per your recommendation, the Director of Planning and Building or their designee is authorized to regulate and implement this chapter. Next slide. And so staff recommend that the Planning Commission hold a public hearing tonight, review any written and oral comment, and then adopt the resolution recommending that the Board of Supervisors adopt an ordinance to add Title 2104, the local tenant preference, to the San Benito County Code. Thank you very much, and I'm here for any questions.
Thank you. Questions from the commission for staff?
Not at this time.
Not right now, thank you.
I don't have any questions.
Okay. All right, public comment.
If you'd like to make a comment in chambers, please provide a speaker card, and on Zoom, use a raise hand icon feature by dialing *9.
You just add me to that
Yes.
card. Thank you. Hi, thank you. I just had a quick question. Stephanie, make sure I'm understanding correctly. The preferences stand for the 30-year term of affordability. If I'm understanding that correctly, I think that would be both hard to enforce and also not, if someone got a point for their kid being in school and then the kid grew up, I don't think we'd want to displace them from their housing. I think in general, we don't want to displace people from their housing. Once people move in, based on the preference, I don't think that we would want to use a change in their circumstance as a reason to make them move. Thank you. And maybe Stephanie can explain. I may be understanding that wrong.
Yeah, I would love to comment on that. So, you would not be removed from your unit if all of a sudden you were ineligible for your preference. That is just in case a unit is sold, or a new tenant comes in. Those new tenants would have to then, or could receive the unit based on these preferences.
I also just wanted to thank Stephanie for sending me this in advance.
Next in chambers, we have Jeffrey. You may now approach the podium.
Well, thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be here tonight and see all of you. Jeff Small, and I'm here representing the San Benito High School District. We are very grateful for the ordinance. We are a very big supporter of affordable housing. We know how important it is, not only state law, but more importantly, how important it is for the community. We've heard a lot about it at city council meetings, at the county level. Tonight, the reason why I'm here is because on behalf of the San Benito High School District, we are seeking an exemption for school districts to be able to provide affordable housing for our educators and our staff, not only at the San Benito High School District, but for public educators. The reason why that this is important is because the school district has resources. We have an obligation to retain and recruit high quality teachers for our growing student population. Without this exemption, there's absolutely no incentive for the school district to come in and undertake the efforts of providing affordable housing for our teachers and our staff. Currently, we did a survey back in April. There's 87 teachers who are interested in workforce housing. The median income is about $92,000. So they are very good candidates for affordable workforce housing. And our request is in line with the general plan. So you can look at, and just for the record, I did submit a letter on behalf of Superintendent Dr. Sean Tannenbaum. I believe all the commissioners have it. We'd like to incorporate that in the record. But part of that letter identifies a number of policies, 5 different policies in the general plan, and really shows how this exemption fits within those policies. And just to briefly state here tonight, one of the policies is that the county will ensure affordable housing for members of the local workforce, and they name teachers are by name listed in that policy. Jobs and housing balance. Well, it's very important to have teachers who live and work in the community. One of the reasons why that's important is because oftentimes teachers are involved not only during the day, but there's after-school activities, there's activities on the weekend. They're really a big part of this community, and it's really important that we have a place for them here. In addition, we have teachers, and I apologize, maybe I'm short on time, if I could have.
You can continue for a few more seconds.
Thank you, sir. So we need high-quality teachers. We've got a lot of students. We've got a growing student base with growing students. We need those teachers here. We need to be able to retain them, and we need to be able to recruit them. And I just want to thank you so much for your time tonight. You do have our letter. We are happy to answer any questions. We're happy to meet with you, but we really do need this exemption, and we respectfully request it. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
There are no additional public comments in chambers or on Zoom.
Okay, thank you. All right, bringing it back to the commission then. Discussion within the commission.
I have nothing at the moment.
Well, might as well. So this is called a local tenant preference. So if you're a local for the first day, I'm confused as to the purpose of it. It seems useless at that point. The only thing it does is give a leg up to the preference people, which I just don't see why we would adopt this at all then. I'm gonna vote no, basically. It serves no purpose for local preferences. It's only for these few groups. That's
So
my only comment.
I see your point. Other comments?
No.
I also, I understand the concern from council. It's a tough nut to crack. I'm inclined to pass it with some sort of residency requirement, maybe not a year, but some sort of residency requirement, and you know, see what the board does with it. They can expand it, they can chop it back, they can remove it, they can, you know, do what Santa Cruz did.
Ignore it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Is there any appetite for doing something like that?
I don't have an appetite for it at all.
Not really? Could you come to the microphone?
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I wanted to address your concerns, Commissioner Gibson. My understanding is that to establish residency is not that you just come and stay in a motel in town. Establishing residency, you know, typically require having to rent a unit and having to be able to show utility bills. And, you know, someone who is trying to get into low-income housing isn't going to be able to just come into town and rent anything, you know, at market rate. I just think that's an unlikely scenario. And I think that these ordinances have worked well in other jurisdictions. I understand what you're saying, but I think as a practical matter, that's not how it plays out. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you.
And he is correct. Per the code, you are required to have residency established by like an address on an ID or your pay stub. So you would have to be living currently here in a unit.
So 2 weeks, you get a paycheck, and then you're a resident. That's not much different than 1 day, in my opinion.
I think it is
Is there
different.
more than one mechanism to confirm a year? Or is it just the one, like Commissioner Gibson said, if you just provide a pay stub and you can do that within a few weeks, would that
Well,
be
if they
enough
have-
to establish residency?
Yeah, I mean, you can, well, if your pay stubs go back, like my pay stubs go back from the county now 3 years, so I could prove that I've been working here for the county for 3 years with my tax returns.
That's not required. All they need is one paycheck, which is 1 week, or depending upon the employer, it's 1 week or 2 weeks. And how many points total are there if you get an extra point for being one of these preferences? How many
It's
points
1
in?
point for each preference that is included in section,
Yes, but where's the total formula? Are there 100 points total? I'm trying to understand what the preference, how big of a bump the preference is.
well,
Above
there's
every-
7 preferences, so you're eligible for 7 total points.
So that's it? Those are the only points? So you get 1 point if you have a
Yes.
child, and you're 1 point above what? 0? I don't understand. Huh.
Yes, you could, it would just depend on what you qualify for. So, I mean, if you're a displaced household, there's a point. If you're a resident, there's another point. If you're a worker, there's another point. If you have a children in the school district, there's another point. So you could stack the preferences you're eligible for, and that's how you determine, I guess, who has the most preferences to qualify for the next eligible unit.
Who's to say, though, that somebody works here and their child is signed up to go to Hollister School District, because that happens in San Jose all the time. I know a lot of people that do that. They drive to San Jose, and because they don't want their kids in daycare or whatever, they take their kids and they're enrolled in San Jose Unified, and so now I want a house, and I can prove that they've been enrolled for 2 years. So I can get a house in whatever county because my child has been bumped up a point because they go to the school district.
You can't qualify for that preference unless you're a resident of San Benito County. So you have to be a principal resident of San Benito County and have a child who's in the school district. So if you do not live in San Benito County, but your child goes to school here, you are not eligible for this preference.
In the first place, yeah. What if we were to simplify this to start with? What if we took away the point system to begin with as a starting point? What if we just said, you get a preference if you're a resident of San Benito County, period? Because the point system is only important if you're deciding between people who are all San Benito County residents in the first place. So if you're deciding between someone who is a resident and someone who is not a resident, and you give the preference to the person who is a resident, then you're done, right? I mean, it's only if you have to decide between multiple people who are San Benito County residents that the point system becomes important. So if you started with, we will give preference to San Benito County residents, period, and you had a simple idea for how are we going to decide who is and isn't a San Benito County resident, we could start with that and then phase in, if necessary, an idea of a point scaling system once we got some experience with the idea of, do we need to decide between multiple San Benito County residents? That would make it simpler, and we wouldn't have to deal with, is it more important that somebody is an agricultural worker versus is it more important that they have somebody in the school system? I mean, we seem to be getting hung up on some of those side issues.
And how do you feel about this letter that we got for exemption?
Well, I was gonna kind of, it seems to me like we may be premature in discussing that, since I'm not even sure that we're going to get to the base. It doesn't even sound to me like we're going to be able to pass the. I may be wrong, but
in concept, I think it's a great idea to have people that are living in the county to have, but it gets really complicated really quick when you add a point system, and then if you're a teacher and you have a child, or just a teacher with no child, then you may get an extra point just because. That's
my point. Yeah. And to answer your question about the exemption, it's a fine idea in theory. I haven't looked at. I mean, obviously this was just given to me tonight, and I haven't studied it in detail, but. The short answer is I don't know.
Well, if we did away with the preferences, I'd support an exemption for the school district. Or schools.
Probably.
School workforce housing.
Probably.
How would that work?
So as they were talking, a few ideas popped into my head. Well, the first is that we have a preference for San Benito County workers, and if you're a worker in the school district, you qualify for that. So I don't see why the preferences as written wouldn't allow them to put their school teachers in school housing, but we could potentially say include in the code where workforce housing is provided by the school district, school teachers and staff shall be provided first preference.
Well, I think that they're talking about the school district is funding the construction of the housing, therefore they don't want everybody in the county to be able to live there, since the school district is paying for the housing construction itself. So that's why the exemption.
Code, they could give their workers preference because they would be a San Benito County worker.
But that defeats the purpose of them constructing the housing.
Yeah, we would need to add that into the code to allow that.
Yep.
It's not specified in that manner.
If the school, yeah, if the school district is building the housing for their teachers, we don't come, it wouldn't make sense for us to swoop in and say, well, now it's open to everybody. Thank you for building the housing. That seems ridiculous. So I would have to agree with the school district's request.
And to add a little bit of the concept of points or preferences or how you want to label it. So let's say there's 5 houses for sale, and there are 10 people. The preferences then come to move up those 10 of those 10 qualified people, the preferences then move them up into the ranking of the first 5. For the first 5 houses, if that makes sense. So does that help explain the points or preference system? And Seth's coming up and he can better help address that.
It does. I just, worry that we're kind of getting wrapped around the axle with the preferences. It seemed to me like that was one of the sticking points. Maybe I'm wrong, but please go ahead, Seth.
Actually, I wanted to address the preference issue and your suggestion that we simplify things. I think that would run into legal problems. That, having an ordinance says we're going to give a preference to people who already live here is what we can't do. Having an ordinance that says there's a point system with various criteria, all not residency related. And I urge you strongly to consider this residence. I mean, having worked in many jurisdictions building affordable housing, there's always a resistance to providing resources to do that if there's a sense that people from out of the area are going to come in and move into the housing. And, a lot of the reason for the preference is to reduce vehicles miles traveled. I mean, it's to let local kids who grew up here find an opportunity, but it's also it has a strong environmental benefit. And it's a strong reason for giving a preference for people who work here, because maybe they're working here and commuting from Los Baños, and if they could move here and not commute, that would also not only improve all of our qualities of life and reduce vehicle miles traveled, but it would greatly reduce that family's quality of life.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you.
Commissioner Scally.
Yes, please.
Yeah, question, is this for rental or for purchase? Or both?
Both.
It's both, and anything that's essentially in an inclusionary housing unit or an affordable unit.
So our inclusionary ordinance includes both, rental options or for sale options. So it depends on the specific project and what their inclusionary, requirement that they were meeting through the ordinance, and then it would go into play for either.
But it's true, though, isn't it, that it never requires a developer or a landlord to rent or sell to anybody that he or she wouldn't otherwise be required to rent or sell to, right?
That's correct. And it also, I think, to address your question, this only applies to projects where there's, like the Riverview self-help homes, where people had to be income qualified, they had to apply and go through a process. It's not going to apply to market rate housing where people are just going to rent a unit out or sell a unit.
This is kind of like Chispa then, something to that effect.
Some of the things Chispa's built, would fall into that category also, yes.
And I also concur that we should take out the high school. If they're going to build their own, then we should stay out of that. Let them stand on their own. If they're willing to do that for their teachers, keep the county out of it. That's on them.
All school districts, not
All
just
school
the high
districts,
school.
okay, all school districts, that's.
I think the only issue there is that, you'd have to check the language, because the high school may have some funds that they're going to use to help create teacher housing, and they may apply for other funds from other sources. The county may even want to help out with a project like that because it is a benefit for the county. They may be putting a bunch of their money in. Maybe they're the primary financing source. It takes a lot of money, a lot of resources to create these affordable housing projects. So I think that the exception that the school district is asking for isn't unreasonable. Maybe add to it if it's housing that was built, including resources they're contributing.
I have just one comment. That's not gonna be a nice one, but it's gonna be a comment. Maybe the government should just get out of the housing industry.
I just wanted to say that our market rate housing development system builds virtually no housing for low-income people. And right now in our area, builds very little for, lower middle class, moderate kind of housing. So if we wanted to take government out of it, it would take our housing crisis and turn it on its head. I mean, everybody needs a place to live, and the market doesn't build housing for low-income people. Not without government subsidy.
The thing I object to is the point system a little bit, because I think that could be unfair in a way. But I also think that the exemption that the teachers are asking for, if we do go with this, is something they deserve.
Okay, fair enough.
It feels odd to make the motion because I'm going to vote no, but I do agree that school districts should have an exemption and then figure out the language for what makes sense, whether it's 100% funded by the school district or whatever the case may be.
But what about the residency requirement? Are
Well,
we gonna
I think
put
the
that
whole
in
thing
there,
is moot. It's for local people, but then you can give all these other preferences, but apparently you can't actually give local preference of any time period. It just seems rather discriminatory.
It's,
Sean, maybe.
just to explain, the time period, and it harkens back to voting. So if somebody moves to your county, you can't restrict them from voting in the next election, right? Based on them being there for a certain amount of time. That's sort of, you can't cut off the privileges and immunities that you provide to other people based on the amount of time they've lived within your jurisdiction.
That you can discriminate against everyone else if you work in agriculture or have a kid go into a local school district. I see it as all the same. The Supreme Court isn't always right, nor is the Constitution.
I would disagree with the Constitution piece, but yeah, they err from time to time. That said, we follow their jurisprudence and what they decide, so.
Are we?
I struggle with the idea that somebody is going to produce a pay stub for the purpose of getting into housing in San Benito County and then, move. I mean,
Work outside of it?
exactly. I mean, I'm sure, I'm not saying it will never happen. My question is, how often will it happen? I don't know.
If at all, yeah.
With the housing market in California, I think people are desperate enough to do anything.
I'm not saying it won't happen. I'm just questioning, is it enough of a problem that it's really going to be?
I think people buy houses here and drive to San Jose all the time. I think people drive to Gilroy all the time.
Yeah.
Dental assistants drive to Gilroy because they make $10, $15 more than they do here. I think the high school, if they're gonna incentivize their teachers and their workers to stay here, I think we need to stay out of it. I will 100% agree with that. If in the future they needed something, they could come and propose something, but I have problems. I guess I'm just skeptical. I think people do it all the time.
Maybe this is a question for Sean. If tenant preferences without a scorecard, you're recommending against that?
No, I think we can have a scorecard. Yeah,
No,
it's
but
the
without
durational.
so if we had this without a scorecard of getting points a point system and just found a different way, then would that still be okay? Would cause a problem?
Yeah, my
Open us up
opinion,
to a
I think that's
lawsuit.
fine. Yeah, I don't think I think you can score it as you wish. The particular piece that legal has a problem with is the durational residency requirement in particular. That strikes me as in violation of the Privileges and Immunities Clause.
So maybe is there some language, possibly Commissioner Gibson, that would help you on the preferences?
And take out local tenant and call it something else.
And what does council recommend on that?
It's because it's not local tenant. If you can't prove that you're local for any period of time,
Well, I mean,
Well, I
if
think
you
you're still
what if
proving
you
you're
would need-
local, right? They're still approving of that you're a resident,
for a
right?
week or two,
Well,
theoretically.
it's better than nothing, I would say. And there are other jurisdictions that have implemented this, and we didn't just come up with this on our own. And I feel that's sort of where the impetus came from. And so I would expect this to make it to the board at some point as well, since they're the ones who sort of asked for this to make it up to them. So while, we may want to bat this around some more,
Yeah,
I
I
think
mean-
it should eventually make its way up to them, so.
You're forcing people to jump through some sort of a hoop. There are going to be people who are simply not going to be willing to jump through this hoop. If you're erecting some kind of a hoop, it's better than no hoop at all.
Right.
So I've seen in affordable housing projects, that when you're looking at someone's going and filling out an application, different jurisdictions, they have, city, preferences or county preferences. And so, I mean, if the titling is an issue, I mean, I think it's,
The title is essentially a distinction without a difference. You can call it whatever you want. The meat of it is the actual language in the ordinance, and that's what will matter.
Yeah, so somebody filling out an application for residency in a development or in an apartment, and the question is, are you a resident in San Benito County? Is he going to say, let me get back to you on that, and then comes back a week later, oh yeah, here's my pay stub. I just don't. That just seems really implausible to me. I know I've said that.
Vote no.
So Sean, you couldn't if somebody moved here and rented an apartment, and then you had somebody that was renting an apartment for a year and they were both trying to buy the same house.
Right. You can't give those privileges to somebody based on the duration. It's,
Based on for the same reason you gave the example of they came
you
in.
can't, right, you couldn't say you have to be here for a year in order to vote, right? That sort of thing. And people, they used to do that until that was
Right, so that's kind of where it gets a little complicated for us.
Right. And it has to do with, in America, you're supposed to be able to travel between jurisdictions without being punished for it, right? It's the way,
Yep.
the freedom of movement is important.
Well, do we have a motion? And I want to be really clear when the motion gets made exactly whether we have a duration included and whether we have the point system included
The exemption for the school.
and the exemption for the school districts.
Can I ask the commission if we're gonna remove the points and the scoring structure, do you have any recommendations on how to score this? Because it would seem that some sort of scoring would be needed for this to be effective.
Yeah, I personally, I would withdraw my objection to my request to remove the point scoring. I thought that was a good idea when I suggested it, and I no longer think so. But others may disagree.
I think that we have to have some kind of point system, I
Yep.
think, by Sean's.
Yep.
What it is what I think we have kind of stuck with here. And we can't just not have a point system at all, right?
I think we need, well, we have to determine how to score based on Ariel's beautiful example, because if you have more than one person eligible for one unit, you have to be able to score what preferences they're eligible for to determine who actually, has the most eligibility.
So another way, so it wouldn't be a scoring system. It would just be if you meet one of these, then you have a preference. So it wouldn't be additional point.
Criteria,
It,
teacher living.
if they met one of the, what is it, like 7 items, okay, you qualify for the preference.
Well, of course, even with the scoring system, you could still end up with 2 people with the same number of points, but, that's just gonna happen.
Yeah, but then at that point, it's just, they both deserve it, so.
Right. Right.
Give it to one person
Right.
for one thing or
What
another.
about a lottery?
Yeah, it'd be equal weight and not like additional weight.
Right.
And then so maybe first come, first serves.
Yep.
Would that be, because then how would you decide between everyone eligible?
Mr. Chair?
It looks like Seth.
I just wanted to say, I think that Sean will agree that you really need to have a scoring system for this ordinance to stand up under legal challenge. That's,
I actually disagree. I think you can have a flat, just a straight preference. It's, again, the duration, I think, is the critical piece. Just like you can make somebody be in a place and have residency in order to vote, you can't have a duration attached to that.
You can't have a straight preference and then with an exemption for the teachers, for example.
Sorry, say that again?
So, I don't know, I think what I'm saying is that we can have, without having a scoring card, we can still have some way to, they live in the county, vest that, maybe better than just a paycheck, but without a point system saying, well, yeah, I'm not sure, because, how would you decide who without a point?
I think, as sort of Stephanie was speaking to, it would be difficult. It would just be a straight one, you get a preference, right? And so you would have a lot of people, it would just be a first come, first served situation, seems to me.
So essentially, if you met one of those preferences, it just would be a singular preference. It's not like, oh, okay, I'm a resident, I have a kid in this school, and I also am a farm worker, so I kind of get 3. It's just like, okay, you met that one qualification, and that's.
Through the chair?
Yes.
So just to bring a real life example, around 2015, the County of San Benito and the City of Hollister worked collaboratively with the CHISPA, Commissioner Scaglione brought the CHISPA. They were hoping to get a grant, which they did, for the units next to the IOOF cemetery on Buena Vista Road. And they needed to show that the property was in the County of San Benito. And however, because the utilities were so close by, they had to connect to city water and city sewer in order for them to get a permit for that, in order for them to get approval. So the city and the county worked out a deal where they got their discretionary permits through the county, but then prior to occupancy of the first unit, they annexed into the city. And so just to summarize, there was about 41 apartments there and 13 single-family homes, and CHISPA processed that application. My understanding, for the 41 apartments, there was 1,100 applications for 41 apartments. And there was no, and I wish they were here to kind of explain their system. My understanding is that the county didn't have a system in place at that time, but they had their own, and that's what helped them kind of vet through the process for them to finally get to those 41 apartments. So with all that being said, it is helpful to have a point system for that to be able to qualify.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
But the point system doesn't have to be a layered point system. It could just, whether you qualify for 3 or 1, it's just a point.
And then we can do it based on the timing of your application, so first come, first serve.
All right, well,
So-
let's get a motion out on the table, I guess. Sorry, go ahead, Commissioner Rehaden.
Well, I was just gonna see if I could make a motion without fumbling the football.
Okay. Well, I can offer friendly amendments if necessary.
I can fumble well.
My only concern is that if we move this forward, we will be using the point system that some of us really disagree with, but we have to have some way. So I'd like to make a motion that we move this forward with the exemption that was brought to us here for the teachers. And there was something else that was, maybe you can help me.
I think the other issue was the residency requirement. We don't want that in there based upon county council's recommendation.
Right, so to remove that through council's recommendation, I think that's my motion.
Okay. I'm sorry, I think I said it wrong. Thank you. The time period,
The one year,
well, any time period.
any time period. Oh, that's, okay, you're right. Yep. Okay,
Okay, is there a second on that?
should we make it more clear? The motion is to move this forward with the exemption without the 1 year. So we'll have to remove that language, right?
Yeah.
And that's, I think that was it.
Are you gonna flesh out details about?
And the
what
school too, right? The
exemption for
school.
the school district is?
Oh,
If there's a percentage of funding like Seth had mentioned, I mean, I don't even know what that would be. Is it 100% funded by the school district? I mean, what does that look like for the exemption? I think we want to come up with something before you throw it in the ordinance. Just a vague exemption.
Well, thank you very much for the question. First, I'd like to say that it's so hard to get affordable housing, and we all know that. And so I think what we want to do is really come together as best as we possibly can to get some affordable and workforce housing. I think that, while we don't, the school districts are very interested in this. We've spoken to more than one. But I think that there will be other funding that will come in. As I stand before you, we're not asking for funding for the county, from the city, but partnership is always a possibility. And, we're just open to talking about it and trying to get good housing for those that have priorities. And but our intention is that these projects are going to be spearheaded by the school districts and funded by them. It's just, we keep it open because we definitely want to get something done for the community.
And so there won't be any funding coming from the county, San Benito County.
No.
You'll have grants or whatever, and do you know what percentage you're gonna, how much?
Well, right now, we're planning on being 100% responsible for the funding. We're not asking the county for any money. But what I'm saying is there may be joint opportunities. And because we really want to get the affordable housing, we don't want to foreclose that possibility, as well as the possibility to work collaboratively. But we're not asking for any money. This is for a school district driven and being responsible for funding for these types of projects.
And that's why it's so important, I think, what Commissioner Gibson said. This housing should go towards the people who paid for it.
right, of course.
Through the chair, if I may suggest that whatever you decide to do with language, that you bring it back. Give staff the opportunity to craft some language other than a blanket exemption for school districts. Come
Right.
up with some sort of language that makes sense.
Right.
It would, I guess we're dark in July, so maybe bring something back in August with
And you'd be
refined
open-
language.
Yeah, I would
We're open
agree.
with that.
I would agree with
And
that.
I just have one other question. Seniors, do they, are they
Yes.
not worthy of any kind of preference? I mean, if you have a kid, you're cool. If you work in ag, you're cool. All the other nonsense that's in there for preferences. Why don't seniors get a preference? To me, they should get triple points because they've put up with all of us for all these decades. I mean,
And I think that's a great point. I mean, what is do we have, is the point system allow for seniors, especially seniors that have been here their entire life and now find themselves priced out, can't get an apartment? What do we tell those folks?
Well, I think we already decided that we can't use duration, but your point
But
is
for
well
the
taken.
seniors portion
Yes,
of
the
it,
seniors, I think if we can use age, that would be a fine thing to do.
So do you want
As I sit here now, I don't see any problem with it. You can benefit a group generally, right? You can't negatively affect them, but benefiting them generally.
is Sunny online?
can we,
Can we hear from Sunny and Seth perhaps about seniors getting a leg up if we're giving other people legs up? Is that a standard?
I don't think there'd be any problem with that. That is another criteria for leading
maybe the podium would be a place.
Is Sunny online to comment or?
He is not.
Okay.
Okay.
Just as a little backstory, I don't know that we specifically talked about seniors, and it also wasn't a recommendation of the last planning commission meeting. So we can include seniors if that's a recommendation of this commission. There are blanket preferences in here that would apply to seniors. They're not just called out because they're seniors, like, whether you have high rent costs or whether you are in a neighborhood or whether you're a displaced household. So this isn't stopping seniors from qualifying for any of these preferences, but we can call them out if that is your desire in an 8th additional preference.
I would like to do that, yes.
And
Okay.
their income levels are usually set, when you're on Social Security, so hopefully we have, that
Okay.
also plays into it.
Will you withdraw your motion and I'll just make a new motion?
Sure.
I'll gladly withdraw my motion.
Okay. I move to approve with changes that would add seniors. I'm assuming that's, I don't know what that age is, 65 plus, get a preference. I would also like to add the exemption for school districts with direction to staff to flesh out that language. And take out the 1-year residency requirement and to continue this item until the August meeting for further refinement or approval.
Okay, so
Second.
the motion is to, so just to be clear, this motion is to approve or simply to continue?
To have staff bring back those changes with the anticipation that would be approved in August.
Okay, fair enough. All right, do I hear a
Can I
second?
I second.
Sorry, what was
It
that
can't
motion again?
be-
We're approving and then continuing. Is that what?
Well, I want to see the language before I approve it.
So it's just,
The language about school districts being exempt, I'd love to see that language.
so
we-
the motion is to continue.
Yes.
You can either approve,
Right.
you can have a recommendation to approve, a recommendation to deny, or a recommendation to continue.
But we can't approve and continue.
Right.
No, we're just continuing.
Just continuing it till we see the language. I mean, what if the language,
Right, but
school
your
district.
wording, I thought I heard approve.
oh, okay.
and
A motion to continue until the regularly scheduled August meeting with the 3 changes discussed ad nauseum.
Do you also have clarification on the scoring discussed? Are you wanting staff to make it 1 eligible point if you qualify for a preference, or to make each preference a point?
I'm wanting to keep the scoring as is.
With the 1 additional
With
point
the
for
additional
each
point
preference?
For yes.
Yep, that works
And-
for me
and
if
the
we're
addition
going
of
to add seniors.
Yes,
That works also for me. And the being the, yeah, that's fine.
That works. I'll second.
okay. Okay, so we have a motion and a second for continuing this item until August with the, coming back to us with the language changes. I don't think we need a roll call necessarily on a motion to continue. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion to continue carries 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
May we have a recess for 5 minutes, please? Okay. Thank you. We're in recess. So, okay, I think our 5 minutes is up. So let's come back from recess. Okay, we are unrecessed. Recess is over. All right, so we are back in session, and it is time for our regular agenda, which tonight consists of 2 items. The first of which, both of which are compliance reviews. The first of which is a compliance review of the development agreement for Santana Ranch. And it looks like Abraham is going to walk us through that.
Yes, it's,
Take it away, Abraham. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And just to make sure, 8.1 on the regular agenda, I believe is San Juan Oaks. Is that what you're seeing as well, Mr. Chair?
I am sorry. I'm
no
going
worries.
by an old copy of
Okay,
my.
no worries.
Sorry.
That's fine. Just wanted to make sure that we're all on the same page. And thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Planning Commission, members of the audience. Thank you for being here. Per section 19.11.012 of the San Benito County Code, the director shall set a public hearing before the Planning Commission to review a developer's compliance with the development agreement on an annual basis. The developer shall provide such information and documents as may be deemed by the director as reasonably necessary to ascertain compliance with the development agreement. Staff did a review on all of the development agreements with the County of San Benito and found that unfortunately there is no current process for the annual compliance review. We were looking through it and we didn't see any, and we have active development agreements since 2010. So we started working together with County Council to formulate a process to start bringing these compliance review agreements to the Planning Commission, and from now on we will do so on an annual basis, or the ordinance also indicates that if, whenever deemed necessary to bring before you, we can do that. But at least starting now, it's gonna be scheduled for an annual basis. The county currently has 4 active development agreements, one being the one that we're listening to in this item, San Juan Oaks. Another one is Santana Ranch. We also have Fairview Corners, and we have Pinoch Solar Valley, and Pinoch Valley Solar, sorry. And tonight we will be listening to San Juan Oaks, which is this item. We will then also be listening to Santana Ranch following this item. And at the next regular meeting, we have scheduled Pinoch Valley Solar, and we also have scheduled Fairview Corners. So they'll come before you at our next regular meeting for compliance review. The first development agreement for tonight is San Juan Oaks, as mentioned. The periodic compliance review of the development agreement is an opportunity for the developer to indicate how they have been in compliance with the development agreement. Per section 1911.012 of the San Benito County Code, quote, the developer shall have the burden of providing compliance at the public hearing before the Planning Commission, unquote. And the developer for San Juan Oaks is actually here this evening. We have Michael Cady from Third Millennium Partners, Vice President. We have Dustin Bogue, CEO, and we have John Ingram, Vice President of Land Development, who are here, who will be coming in shortly for the San Juan Oaks DA. Per section 1911.012D of the San Benito County Code, if the Planning Commission finds a developer to be in full compliance with all terms and conditions of the agreement, it shall adopt a written resolution certifying compliance with the development agreement. Per section E of the same code, if the Planning Commission finds that good faith compliance with all terms and conditions of the agreement has not been demonstrated, the Commission shall refer the matter along with its recommendation to the Board of Supervisors. Prior to calling up Mr. Cady, Mr. Bogue, and Mr. Ingram to the podium, I would like to state that the staff has had recurring meetings with Third Millennium Partners for multiple years, at least since I've been here in 2022. Bi-weekly, we've been meeting with them, reviewing the development agreement and code compliance, making sure that they've been following and them providing how they've been in compliance. Staff has conducted site visits in multiple occasions to San Juan Oaks. I know that some of the commissioners here have gone out there. I know some of the board members have done their site visits as well. And so staff recommends that the Planning Commission review the periodic compliance, ascertaining compliance with the development agreement by and between the County of San Benito and San Juan Oaks landowners, and adopt the attached resolution certifying current compliance with the development agreement. Are there any questions for staff before we bring in Third Millennium?
No, but I just wanted to make a statement regarding the whole process.
Yes.
Last year when I was chair, I thought that I was appointed to an ad hoc with one of the supervisors to work on a development agreement for a business. And at that point is when I reviewed the ordinance, which we don't always review all the ordinances that the county has. And that's when I noticed and pointed out to Abraham that the Planning Commission was supposed to have an annual review. I don't know if I anticipated that it would be like this, where we actually have the applicants come to us, but we can discuss that later on, what kind of format we think is appropriate.
Absolutely, Commissioner Gibson, that's absolutely good. And they do have about a 10-minute presentation or so that would be provided to you. Any other questions before we ask Mr. Katie to come up? Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. As Abraham stated, I'm Michael Cady. I'm with Third Millennium Partners. We are one of the joint venture owners of San Juan Oaks. I too want to clarify a little bit. Abraham did bring it up. The introduction of this kind of makes it seem like there has been no DA compliance. I can tell you from day one, we purchased the property in 2021. The first thing the county did was went and hired Denise Duffy and Associates, a third-party consultant that tracked all of the conditions of approval and all of our DA compliance. We have a meeting with Abraham, Ariel, and Steve Loop every other Thursday where we review every condition before we've been granted grading permits, before we've been granted building permits, easements. We have to make sure that we've cleared all those conditions. So I think I don't want there to be any misconceptions that this is just a run wild scenario where nobody's watching, because I can guarantee you that's not the case. We have a reimbursement agreement with the county, so even though the contract's with the county, we pay for DD&A, and we've spent over $500,000 on DA and condition compliance. So I think that's really important to understand. Maybe that it's not been having these annual meetings, but I definitely want to assure everybody that feet are being held to the fire. I can attest to that. So I just wanted to clarify that, made sure that everybody understands that it's happened. I can't speak for the other projects, but I can definitely tell you at San Juan Oaks, it's been happening every other Thursday. So that's important to know. I don't know, Ariel, you're going to run the presentation for me? We'll give you a little brief presentation. Not sure what you guys want to hear about. I don't know how familiar you guys are with the project. Hopefully you've all been out there. Okay, so you've seen it. We started, it was a project that was approved in 2015, took a while to get going. Then COVID hit, but obviously we ended up purchasing it, but it's an approved specific plan. So everything out there is approved. We are building it as it was approved. The specific plan actually became zoning. So what's out there is what the zoning is. The specific plan and what it says in the specific plan is what's happening. And that's how we've progressed so far. So I don't know, maybe next. Okay, great. Here's the site plan. I don't know if you want to spend a whole lot of time on it, but I can maybe walk through the project elements if you'd like. As you know, San Juan Oaks is accessed via Union Road. As you're going to the clubhouse, everything to the right is 1,017 active adult units. So 55 plus, depending on how you want to define senior. I heard somebody was defining it different. As a 56-year-old, I appreciate the 65, but by federal and state law, active adult is actually 55 plus. So that's what these 1,017 units are, which is a majority of the units. I think one of the important things to note is I think when they approved the planning on this, which actually predates us. There was previous developers. A majority of this project, all the active adult is on private streets. The commercial's all on private streets. The 67, what we call conventional market rate units, are on private streets. So almost everything is private and is maintained and paid for by the homeowners association. So I think it was a key component of the project. To note, because obviously fiscal neutrality is important to counties and any municipal agencies these days. So, in addition to the 67 conventional and then the 1,017 active adult, the approval is also for up to 65,000 of commercial retail, which is, I'll call that the salmon color you see in the top right. In addition to that, there's also a 200-room hotel, which is the kind of large pale yellow parcel to the south. And also basically a 100-bed continuing care facility. So those are kind of the main components of the development components of the specific plan. In addition to that, we are dedicating over 1,200 acres in a conservation easement. The landowner for that will be San Benito Agricultural Land Trust, and the California Fish and Game or Fish and Wildlife requires that there be a separate conservation easement holder, and that will be the Golden State Land Trust. So we're working on that, going through the very, 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 very slow California Fish and Wildlife process. But they've hired some new staff, so it's been moving along, so which I think is positive for all of us. We control and own all of those 1,200 acres, so it's not off-site mitigation. It's all things that we can control. We're more than anxious to dedicate it and put this behind us. So I think I just went through this slide, which is basically the different components of the project. Here's some of the things that we think are project benefits. Talked about the 1,200 acre conservation easement area. We've also doing ag easements over several of the parcels that are within site. In addition, one of the things, and one of the components of the active adult site is a separate amenity center. It's about a 20,000 square foot amenity center that's available to the people that live in the active adult site. It's a gated community. It's gonna have art rooms, workout rooms. There is a covered pool, there's a sauna, there's pickleball, there's tennis, and there will be a lifestyle director that will also coordinate activities, art and things, trips like that. So those are key components to an active adult community. It's necessary to make it marketable and desirable to live there. Some of the DA requirements, I'll maybe hit some of the bigger ones. I think one of the biggest ones that probably the county is interested in is part of the development agreement with the original developer was that a community benefit fee be paid of $5,559,000. That was the original amount. In the first amendment, the original developer came back and asked for some changes to the DA. The cost of that amendment, which did get approved, was an additional $500,000 to the community benefit fee. So in February of 2023, we paid $6,059,000 to the county. So no small commitment on our behalf. The benefit to the county was they were, I'll call them untethered funds, so the board could use those funds as they see fit. I think ultimately what they've done, they used it for a large part of the CIP traffic improvement. So I think that's ultimately, I'll let staff deal with that, but you know, that's was a big component of that. Some more pictures of the site. This is looking west from kind of where the golf course driving range is, looking to the phases of the active adult, which is what we've actually started now. Phase 1 is in the foreground. You move to phase 2, 3, and 4, all the way to the west. And now you can see some of the improvements. We've obviously have finished lots on phase 1, 279 finished lots being fully graded, streets, finished pads, all the water, sewer, storm, landscaping. So those lots are being built right now. We are the master developer, so we own the entirety of the project, but we are selling finished lots to Trilogy, which is it's a separate entity, but a division of Shea Homes. And their Trilogy line, they only build active adult communities. So they probably, I don't know, Dustin, have maybe 7, 10, 12 communities throughout California, Arizona, and other parts. This is what they do. This is a little picture of the amenity center that we're building right now for within the active adult community. You can see the big hole for the pool, and again, that pool will be covered, and again, a lot of amenities there. This is another shot of phase one. I think we put on here just to give you a little update on what's happening. We've pulled 83 permits for homes to date, and Trilogy has sold and closed escrow on 60 homes, so there's actually 60 owners out there as we speak. So still in early phases, but as part of this project, one of the difficult things part of this project was there was a large amount of upfront infrastructure. Obviously, San Juan Oaks Drive is a very long drive. That's where all the water, the sewer, everything has to go that. We go to the city sewer treatment plant. That was 2 miles of offsite pipe. So there was a lot to go into before we can actually get to the homes. But thankfully, we're there now. This is just a little bit of a timeline. 2015 was when this project was approved. There was the pre-mentioned phase one amendment to the DA happened in 2020. In 2021, we purchased the property, and I think it's probably worth noting, before we purchased the property, one of the things we requested from the county was an estoppel certificate to ensure that the DA was still valid, everything was in compliance. So again, just yet again, another instance of making sure everything is valid. Again, 2021, we purchased it. And I think, let me backtrack a little bit. In 2015, the large project proponent who actually did the specific plan was Pulte Del Webb. And I think it's important to note, they were only purchasing the 1,017 active adult units. The original owner, existing owner, was going to keep the commercial, the golf course, the 67 conventional units. When we purchased it, we purchased everything. We thought it was important to have control of the entire site, particularly for such a large master plan community, to make sure we control all elements. And if you actually look at the specific plan, it says that there'll basically be nominal improvements to the golf course and the clubhouse. That's what was originally anticipated. If you've been out there, you've seen that we've made a gargantuan investment in the golf course and the clubhouse, probably to the tune of $20+ million, which was never included in the specific plan, never seen as a fiscal benefit. The public golf course is public, will remain public. We basically redid the entire golf course because if you're a golfer, you could tell that there was a lot of deferred maintenance on it. A lot of money had not been put into it over the years. We killed the grass. We redid the irrigation system, replanted everything, redid the greens, redid the tee boxes. We improved the driving range, added a chipping and putting green. And if you've been in the building, I don't know. I know the first time I was at San Juan Oaks Golf Course was probably about 25 years ago. So if you've been into the clubhouse before we've redone it, hopefully you guys have made that journey. I mean, it's staggering, yeah. I think we weren't expecting to be grandiose, but like on any renovation, when you open a wall and you have a full commercial kitchen and you have to take care of all of the issues. So there was a very large financial contribution, which I think the county will benefit through property taxes, sales tax revenues, everything. I know there's a lot of talk about economic development, but there are people here doing things now and spending considerable money for the benefit of that. So I just wanted to point that out because it's something above and beyond what anybody anticipated. So Some of the other community improvements that we were obligated to do, actually, maybe I should just go to our list here. So when we got this request from Abraham, we did our best to kind of summarize what we thought some of the most important milestones were, because we could go on forever with conditions and things of that nature. I think I've already kind of touched on the biggest one, which is the community benefit fee, again, which was paid last February. So I won't go over any of these, but I'll be free to be more than happy to answer any kind of questions about them. But some of the other big community benefits are that we are going to build 2 county parks. We build them, and we're basically going to turn them over to the county turnkey, and it's for the benefit of every resident in the county. So I think that's important. One is we call Olive Hill Park. It's kind of, if you've been on the site, you've seen there's a bunch of olive orchards out there. It's a little bit more of a passive park, but we're going to put a parking lot there with some areas where you could have a farmer's market or any sort of kind of community event that anybody would like to have. I would say that's about, I think, 13 acres. And I think the one that people seem to be most excited about is a 5-acre site that we call the Community Garden and Dog Park. It is a park that has everything. It's got play equipment, it's got a community garden, it's got a large dog park, it's got a small dog park, it's got grills, tables. We're also going to do interpretive signs. I think we're going to, there's a little kiosk that I think the Parks Commission is going to actually generate what the text and what the stories are going to be. We've done something similar to a previous project that we did out in East Garrison and Monterey County that kind of paid homage to the military history out there. So whatever the Park Commission decides they want to do, and they'll have some little information signs. So another key component of kind of all of these public improvements, which are the parks in San Juan Oaks Drive, which are all public facilities, we were required to vote ourselves into an assessment district that covers all public facilities that the county are going to own from our project, which is actually very small because most of our project is on private roads and things of that nature. Our homeowners pay into this community facilities district that the county has for all maintenance. So that all those funds go directly to the county to offset any maintenance obligations. So not only are our owners paying via property taxes, they will also be paying per this assessment district, which I think the county requires now on all new subdivisions, if I'm correct. Abraham, is that right? So, and that's already happened, and the homeowners out there that bought houses are already paying that assessment. So, I think also we just did a little slide on kind of the economics of the project and how it is a community positive, and we'll be more than happy to answer questions and get details if you have specific things that you'd like to talk about.
Is that?
Yeah, okay, thank you. Questions from the commission for the not applicant, for the,
Yes.
yes.
I have a couple of them, sir.
Sure.
On your chart, offer to dedicate the county a 2-acre public facility site, it says complete. The county accepted that site? Is that?
The county has not accepted that site, but with the first final map we recorded a final map, we offered the county to dedicate it. So I don't think they've actually formally called it a fire facility site. They call it a public health and safety facilities site. So we have offered that for dedication, and that dedication is good for 15 years. That was part of the First Amendment. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I should have brought that up.
And so reading the First Amendment, it says that regardless of whether or not the county actually does anything with it, we have to sell it back to you at a fair market price if we fail to build anything, correct?
That is how the First Amendment reads, correct.
Okay, just wanted to verify that, because I saw the original one, and I was like, oh, well, we just lose it if we don't do anything with it, and then this one was a better offer for the county.
Yeah, I think, I think, again, the First Amendment, that opportunity was used to benefit all parties for the ask, shall we say.
Okay.
So I think what I've heard is, obviously, given all the discussions, I don't want to sit in the Board of Supervisors seat, that I'm assuming that dedication will be, or that request the county will come to us for that site, we'll give it to them and let you guys decide to do what you will with it.
And then on your slide for financial benefits, it says sales tax generation in 2025 is estimated to be $412,500. Where is that money generated from? That's just from the golfing fees?
Yeah, I'll let Dustin handle that. I'm just a simple planner.
Then if that's what it is, then I'd like to ask, since you've already been approved and we can't demand anything, that we get the sales tax from all the construction materials for all the homes and the hotel and everything else that you're building to help out the county.
Yeah, Dustin Bogue, I'm the CEO of Third Millennium and co-owner. Really, at the end of the day, that's out of our control, but anything that generates sales tax here in the county goes to the county. I think that number comes from the expected revenue from the golf course and the clubhouse.
Okay, well, it actually isn't. You can require your contractors to have their place of business here in the county so that we do get it, because we've done it with other development agreements. We just unfortunately missed the boat with this one.
Yeah,
but it's always an option if you wanted to help us out a little.
Yeah, so we try to use local contractors, and a good amount of what we use are local, but I can't speak to where they actually hold their office.
Okay, then I would just encourage you to look into that, because it would be a benefit since you're in the beginning stages of construction. Those are the only questions I have for now.
Yes, Commissioner Scalia.
Just one question. How many local contractors are you using?
Oof, there's something around 140 total contractors. On the land development side, I'd say most are, I don't know what the percentage is off the top of my head, but most are local. On the vertical side, I can't give you a percentage. If I can get back to you with a percentage, I'm happy to.
Well, that'd be great, because the more you use, the more local, the more sales tax we get, and that's what I'm aiming at, because I know all the heavy equipment that moved all the dirt was an out of county contractor that came in and moved all that dirt.
Not all of it, no.
No?
No. County maybe. One of the contractors we used was Trinchero, local. I'm from Gilroy, so to me, local
Gilroy.
is Hollister Gilroy, so that might be my bad, but.
Okay, I'm just trying to, I know all the fuel is bought here locally, so I know that much, so, okay. We're just trying to keep as much infrastructure money that's spent locally, or have them set up a business here where we get the local sales tax. That's what we're after.
Yeah, so I think what we were focused on is, trying to get local, but also focusing on the competitive bid process and making sure that the quality as well as the value is there.
Thank you.
So.
Other questions from the commission? No? Okay.
Went back through my stickies. So you've already completed the permanent preservation of the on-site ag and the open space. That's already been done with the two, the SBALT and I forget the other organization.
I think those might be two different things, right?
Yeah, those are two different things. There are two. As part of the DA, there's ag easements. There was an off-site ag easement that was actually purchased by the previous owner, and then there is an on-site ag easement along San Juan Oaks Drive, and that was handled with the first final map.
And the wildlife habitat,
The wildlife habitat, the 1,200 acres is, that's secured through, actually the driving document of that is an incidental take permit with California Fish and Wildlife. They manage the entire process. We're in process with them to do a long-term management, and one of the ways that they secure to make sure that we're going to do the conservation easement, and this is, I think, one of the reasons why our previous buyer walked away, is they make us put up letters of credit to secure the conservation easement, and right now we have a $13 million letter of credit with California Fish and Game for property that I own and want to give them a conservation easement on. So, but they have a process, we're going through the process. So it is secured through that letter of credit. It's also secured through the zoning. Again, it's deemed conservation easement area in the specific plan, and that's what it will be.
Okay. The last time I was up there, we did a tour with Dustin and some of the supervisors, and I don't think any sticks had gone up yet on the houses, but it says you're gonna construct a Class 2 bicycle and pedestrian route along both sides of San Juan Drive. Where is that in process?
Leave that to John, our LD guy.
I would like to go back up for another tour to see what's happened, but is that still in the plans?
I was actually going to suggest that all of you are more than welcome to come. Obviously not all at once, but we'd love to have you. And I think if it doesn't come through, we're passionate about this stuff. It's not just, a project. And I think when you come out and see what we've done out there, you'll see that our intent is to do something best in class for the county of San Benito. And I think that's evidenced a little bit with the investment in San Juan Oaks Golf Course. It was really clear to us early on that there were multiple constituencies here. It wasn't just these folks living behind the gate. It was a deep, abiding ownership of San Juan Oaks proper locally, and we wanted to honor that. So, meaning we heard from a lot of people that had, their weddings, their birthday parties, this place has deep meaning, and we wanted to respect that and honor it. So back to the Class 2.
So it was always part of the development plan to improve San Juan Oaks Drive from the creek crossing all the way to the clubhouse, which has both the Class 2 bike lanes and even golf cart lanes, for the community to get all the way. So for, for traffic around the community itself. But it's early on, we made the decision to not only just improve from that point, but we actually, in the process of widening San Juan Oaks Drive all the way to Union, we made the decision to spend the money and go ahead and repave the entirety of San Juan Oaks Drive up to the new intersection that you guys see at Union. So at one point, it was just gonna be a 2-foot widening on each side. We went away with that, completely took out the road and redid it all.
Wow.
All the way to Union, so.
Good.
And that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just real quick before I run, and I hate these podiums, so just know that. It's really important that staff is recognized in this. We would not be where we are today without the diligence and effort of staff, Abraham, Ariel, and Steve. You can't have a better group of people, and they're tough. It's not easy all the time, but they are fantastic to work with, and we're appreciative of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions from the commission? Okay, doesn't look like it. Okay, is there a public comment on this item?
If you'd like to make a comment in chambers, please provide a speaker card and on Zoom, use the raise hand icon feature by dialing *9. In chambers, we have Bridget Bowmanthal. You may now approach the podium. Okay. We have no additional public comment in chambers or on Zoom.
Okay, thank you. Then bringing it back to the commission, is there a discussion within the commission on the item prior to the potential introduction of a motion?
Did Abraham have anything to add?
Not at this time.
Okay.
I mean, we didn't have a particular process in place. This is the one that we kind of came up with, but happy to discuss at a later time if we want to change it up or modify it at any,
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, well, I see that we've been presented with a potential motion regarding, or resolution regarding finding this particular item to be in compliance. Is there, please go ahead.
I don't have the updated agenda, but I will move to adopt resolution number 2025-next, a resolution of the Planning Commission of the County of San Benito, California, declaring a statement of compliance under periodic review pursuant to section 19.11.012 of the San Benito County Code for Development Agreement, etc. Because I don't have that language, I'll leave the rest out. But it's for San Juan Oaks.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much. And
And thank you. And
And,
please consider getting those sales taxes from the construction materials.
moving on to item 8.2, which is actually the Santana Ranch item. And before we move on into this one, I'm told that there's at least one disclosure to be made. I believe that Commissioner Ringhaden wants to mention that he spoke with somebody on this.
I did, so I'd like to disclose, I spoke to Michael Anderson regarding the Santana Ranch linear trail.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and Abraham, I guess, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Planning Commission, members of the audience. Once again, Abraham Prado, Director of Development of Planning Building Services. This next development agreement is Santana Ranch, as you well mentioned, Chairway. And as mentioned previously, the periodic compliance review of the development agreement is an opportunity for the developer to indicate how they have been in compliance with the DA. And that's per section 1911.12, which states that the developer shall have the burden of providing compliance at the public hearing before the Planning Commission. And the developer is here this evening. We have Michael Anderson, Vice President of Operations for Anderson Homes. We have Gina Waldron, Vice President of Anderson Homes. And we have Erica Tamores as well. She's the Executive Assistant. Per section 1911.012D of the San Benito County Code, if the Planning Commission finds the developer to be in full compliance with all terms and conditions of the agreement, it should adopt a written resolution certifying compliance with the DA. Per section E of the same code, if the Planning Commission finds that good faith compliance with all terms and conditions of the agreement has not been demonstrated, the Commission shall refer the matter along with its recommendation to the Board of Supervisors. Prior to calling up Mr. Anderson and the team to the podium, I would like to state that staff has had various meetings with Anderson Homes for multiple years now, reviewing the development agreement and code compliance. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission review the periodic compliance report ascertaining compliance with the development agreement by and between the County of San Benito and Santana Ranch and adopt the attached resolution certifying current compliance with the development agreement. Are there any questions for staff before we bring up Mr. Anderson and the team?
Doesn't look like it. Thank you.
Okay, very well. So we'll have Michael Anderson come to the podium. Thank you, Michael. And there's the PowerPoints right here, and all you could just.
Okay, great.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. And then Abraham, if I want to get, oh, there it is. Okay, okay, great. All right. Good evening, Chairway and Planning Commissioners. My name is Michael Anderson with Anderson Homes. We prepared 10 slides as part of our periodic compliance review. I have some notes on my phone. I'm going to go back and forth here. Here's a conceptual map of the various phases in Santana Ranch. We started building in the south part of Santana Ranch, and we've been working our way north. Our last compliance review with staff and the Board of Supervisors was our Phase 10 final maps in November. And that's the area east of the linear park. We currently have site improvements underway in Phase 10. We're building homes in Phase 8 and Phase 9, and we're actively marketing the commercial site at the intersection of Fairview and Hillcrest. We're proud of the parks we built at Santana Ranch, and we love to hear that both residents and neighbors are enjoying the parks. Paseo Park Trail is a popular walking path connecting several neighborhoods, and the community park features additional walking paths, bathrooms, an artistic shade structure, play areas for all ages, a basketball court, ball fields, and picnic areas. Upcoming plans include the linear park, 2 tot lots, and MART trails, adding to the neighborhood's strong walkability and recreational space. We're also excited to be working with the San Benito Arts Council with Jennifer there on the possibility of some public art near the 2 tot lots. As I mentioned, Santana Ranch is a popular place both for residents and neighbors. I see people walking there all the time. one of our development agreement requirements is for landscape parkways, so I wanted to highlight a few areas. Our team and local landscaper did a great job building beautiful walking paths and landscaped areas along the streets. As part of the project's approvals, we agreed to improve 2 off-site intersections, one at Valley View and Sunny Slope, and one at Fairview and McCloskey. We also improved and signalized the 2 intersections at the entrance to Santana Ranch at Sunny Slope and Fairview and Hillcrest and Fairview. Anderson Homes regularly sells, Anderson Homes regularly sells lots in our developments to other builders. With a strong local presence, including signage, online marketing, and 2 offices in Hollister, including one in Santana Ranch. It's easy for interested builders to connect with us. From 2016 to 2021, as part of our development agreement requirement, we specifically advertised 98 lots to local small builders. The market pricing for the lots was determined by an independent appraiser. Over the years, we've sold 260 lots to regional builders, but we did not sell any lots to qualifying local small builders. Apartments are really needed in the community. I heard talk earlier about workforce housing, and so we're really excited that we built 136 apartment units in Santana Ranch. We're really proud of how they turned out. It's right next to the community park. Oh, sorry, slides. Someone said slide. Sorry. I'm getting carried away. I apologize. Thank you for the assistance. So here's a picture of the 136 apartment units. It's two phases. The first phase contains 55 affordable units. The last certificate of occupancy was issued in May 2023. And then we built 80 more units. 55 of those were affordable, so another 55, so we have 110 affordable units. And we just completed the second phase last month, so we have 136 apartment units. Here's a few pictures of the apartments. We have an on-site gym and an outdoor barbecue area. We finished the apartments with high-quality finishes like quartz countertops, white cabinets, laminate wood flooring. Each unit has a full-size washer and dryer in the unit. So they've been very popular, and we've also built our own great management team to lease and take care of the property. Here's the Rancho Santana school site, which sits on 12 acres in Santana Ranch. It's along Fairview, Sunny Slope, Santana Ranch Drive in the community park. So in summary, Santana Ranch has recorded final maps for 1,092 residential units. With each of these 18 final maps, we prepared a detailed binder for county staff to review that we are in compliance with our conditions of approval and the development agreement. And each time county staff and the Board of Supervisors determined we are in compliance. So far, 840 permits and 775 certificates of occupancy have been issued. We've sold 260 lots to other builders. The commercial site is about 10 acres, and we're working with an experienced team to market that. The 3 basins total about 10 acres. And there's a total of 24 acres of parks and recreational space. As I've mentioned before, we're very proud of the community we have created at Santana Ranch. We have a great team, many local subcontractors. Some of those relationships are 30 years old, and we were working with the local subs long before Santana Ranch broke ground. Frank Guerra is here tonight, and Frank's father started working on the approvals, or I guess on the vision for Santana Ranch in the early 1980s. So it's really exciting to see what Santana Ranch has become 40 years later. And that concludes my presentation. So thank you, and please let me know what questions you have.
Thank you. Questions for Mr. Anderson?
Yeah, I have one question. I was at a meeting about a year ago, maybe a little longer, and there was supposed to be a park walking area on the north side of the project along the Snyder-Dovin property line. And now I notice there's houses up against there. And that was part of the development agreement that I had saw when we sat at a meeting up at your offices. And I wonder how that got changed.
Sure. So I think, let's see, we worked with staff, and there's, I think, about 25 feet along the north border between the Dovin property and then the back of the houses, the fences. And there was going to be a walking path in that 25 feet. And I think it was after one of the final map meetings, I was talking with Barbara Snyder outside here, and we were talking about the walking path, and it just sounded like maybe it wasn't the best place for a walking path between the Dovin property and the houses. And so I encouraged her to reach out to the county, and I'll do the same. And then we heard from the county that just have 25 feet of open space that will be landscaping, but no walking path back there. Does that sound accurate, Abraham? Okay. So, and then, so the walking path from the linear park, it'll just come out at that cul-de-sac right there. So rather than going behind the houses, you'll be able to just walk right onto the cul-de-sac.
I thought it was supposed to come completely all the way over to the commercial area and tie in there. It's not supposed to come that far? That was the understanding I had at the time of that meeting.
Yeah, so the path was going to go from the linear park and then go behind the houses. And so instead of going behind the houses, it's just basically going to connect to the sidewalk in front of the houses. And so you won't have people walking behind the houses, but you'll be able to see people just walking on the sidewalk. I don't want to speak for the county, but there could have been some concerns there about having people walk behind the houses where it's not as visible. I mean, I guess it is from the Dovin property, but I think that was one thing that they thought for various reasons it would be better having people walk down the cul-de-sac.
Well, I had a chat with Mr. Snyder, and he was not very happy with what happened there. He was under a different impression as to what was going to happen along his property line, and he's pretty disgruntled right now.
Okay, and there is a 50-foot, so we had the ad hoc committee meeting, and so there is that 50 feet that is east of the basin, and there is a walking path planned for that. And we did dedicate that 50 feet to the county with the last map. I didn't know if you had any other questions.
No, that's all. Thank you.
Okay. I do.
Yeah, sure.
Now I can't find it, of course.
Sure.
The linear park construction, I think I saw something that said prior to phase 4, but then obviously the phases got divided up into many more than I think than were anticipated in the beginning. When is the linear park construction set to begin?
We want to build it with kind of each phase. So when we're building next to an area, we think it would make sense to do the linear park at that time. The milestone was prior to the 1,092nd certificate of occupancy, but we're going to do it in phases, not wait till the very end to build out the park.
Okay, but phases 5A and 5B have already been completed?
Yeah, so the specific plan had 4 phases, and the 4th phase was the area east of the linear park, which is different than our final map key phase, the final map phases.
Okay. So, because so none of it's built, not even the ones that are near the completed homes. You're going to build it?
No, we haven't built any area east of the linear park yet. We're doing site improvements now.
Okay. Sidewalk in front of CAL FIRE, where are we with that? Because I believe that was also part of the agreement.
Yes, so I put in the binder and the tentative map. This was a little bit before my time, but my coworker and the county, they put together the tentative map, and in front of CAL FIRE, it says, I think constructed by others or improved by others. And so that tentative map was approved by Planning Commission. Some years later, though, we did we were talking with CAL FIRE. We had said, hey, it'd be nice to have this frontage here. And so we had even talked to them. They said, oh, we'd really like sewer. And we said, well, you'd have to ask the city for the sewer, but we're happy to run the infrastructure for sewer, maybe to trade, for that frontage. And so the local CAL FIRE team, they seemed interested in that. But then as we got to the Sacramento office, it kind of went nowhere. And we worked with the county for a while. Again, the tentative map, it says it will be improved by others, but we still were trying to improve it. It's not, per the tentative map, it's not a requirement of the project, but it was something that we were trying to do after the fact.
Hopefully we can continue to work with CAL FIRE, because I think that's pretty essential given the size of the development, that we have a safe passage. I see people pushing strollers and stuff, and it's just ridiculous that it isn't done.
And we're happy to help in any way we can. If you can, let us know how the conversation is going with CAL FIRE.
Because I spoke with a local person from CAL FIRE who's relatively high up on the local food chain, and they absolutely welcome the thought of the sidewalk.
Yes.
So I don't think the conversation should just be that, oh, well, Sacramento said no, so.
No, we worked on it for quite some time. I think it was a 3 or 4 year process.
Let's keep pushing,
Yeah,
please.
Sure.
Where are we? Oh, bike trails. I've seen iterations probably before the specific plan where you had beautiful wide bike trails with trees and shrubs on either side. I think they were 8 or 12 feet wide, the concrete itself. And I don't see those in reality. As a planning commissioner, you kind of get lost in these stacks of paper, but I think there needs to be some sort of better process for the beautiful diagrams that we get shown when we approve things to what actually happens, because I don't really think what's out there is what that planning commission at that time thought they were going to get. It seems like a straight line, and there might be trees, but they're tiny. It looks like shrubs to me. Not that I go to Santana Ranch a lot, but I would just like to see consistency when we're approving something. If we're showing a picture of something, the end result should look like it.
Sure. Yeah, and I think, a picture in the specific plan comes to mind of a family riding a bike, and that is in reference to the linear park trail. We did put that, we went over that concept with staff, and so we are planning a bike trail in the linear park.
Okay, so that referred to linear park?
It did, yeah. It says a class 1 bike trail in the linear park.
Okay.
And so that's what that picture I'm thinking of is for.
It'll look like that?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So we'll have
windy.
Yeah, we have some windy, and so there's 8 feet of asphalt, and then we have 2 feet of aggregate base on either side.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I have
Other
some
questions?
questions, if you
Yes,
don't
please.
mind. Who's maintaining the linear park?
The county will maintain the linear park.
Will that be handed over turnkey when you're finished? Or
Yes, that's correct.
And the completion of the last phase of the linear park, it says it will be completed after the last house is built, I think 1,090 something. Is that still the case?
We plan to build it in phases while we're building houses or developing next to it. So I think we'll be building it before the last house.
Okay. I hope so.
Yes. I think it's a nice marketing feature as well. So we just think it makes a lot of sense to build the park now.
And it is a very popular walking area. On that linear park, you said you're still going to add bicycle trails?
Yes, on the linear park. So we had a concept, and we have an 8-foot bike trail, and then there's 2 feet of aggregate base on the other side. So it's for both pedestrians and bikes.
So it's not delineated just for bikes?
No, it's for bikes and pedestrians.
So hopefully we get responsible bicyclists not running over pedestrians.
Yeah, that's true. And I think of some other places I've walked. Let's see, where's a good example? I mean, like in Monterey, along the water, they have the bike trail, and then they have kind of the aggregate base on either side. And I've found I enjoy walking on that. I know there's bikes. I enjoy taking the kids as well to bike on that. So
Yeah, we just did that, as a matter of fact. Who were the small business owners? Can you tell us who they were and how many units and what units did they build? So you said you had some small business builders, excuse me.
Sure. Yeah, we advertised and we did not, there was no one that wanted to buy lots. We're, part of our business is selling lots. So we went through this advertising period. We did, it's 9 months of advertising at a time. We did it over a 5-year period. During some of those phases when we did not sell, there was another builder wanted to buy lots, so we sold to them Legacy Homes. Their superintendent, Dennis, he's a local guy. But, I would say, we're still selling lots. We're not looking to build all the lots ourselves. I can talk about our local subcontractors if you wanted to hear about that. Sure. So some of the local subcontractors, we've been working with like Ponzini Installation and TFK Drywall, I think since 1991. ACS Cleanup, Richard and Diane there, Alfresco Landscape, Frank. They've done, as I mentioned, a great job. It's really beautiful, the landscaping. California Overhead Door, CCOI Gate and Fence, Don Chapin, Earth Systems, Ferguson Plumbing has a store here, Pinnacle West Pest Control, Sabatini Plumbing. So those are a couple. I could keep going on, but those are some of our main ones. And then also we prepare welcome baskets for the homeowners, and so we try to use we use local products. So whether that's Vertigo Coffee, Mansmith Barbecue, there was a Bee Maker. We've had Frank's Walnuts, and so that's been a nice. As someone enters the neighborhood, we do that. We also do in the fourth quarter. We raise awareness for nonprofits here, and we let home buyers select from the say 5 nonprofits, and then our family donates $500 to the home buyer's choice. So that's been really great.
Okay. I also, it says here that some of the houses were going to be built by other contracts and there'd be a variety.
Yes.
Which houses are those?
So that was talking about, I think it could be the lots offered for sale for local builders. It could just be other builders. I think, we're building, Legacy's building. There will be.
But there was no small builder, because you said you had 0 that came forward. So there was no small builder that built a variety.
No, but we build a variety. Legacy Homes builds a variety. If there's another builder, I'm sure we'll sell more lots in the future to other builders, which will have additional variety. And then for us, I think, one of the variety was just talking about that even for us, I think one of the intentions of the specific plan was really this variety of housing. So we have our what we say standard lots. We also have kind of some smaller lots where it's 2 stories, small plans. We have the apartments. And so the intention of the specific plan was for a variety of housing types. Another big thing when we were going through the approval process was this concept of affordable by design. And so that, led to the apartments. And so those were the intentions really guiding us through those project approvals.
Got it. But if there's no variation, so if I go through the neighborhood, it seems like if there was a builder, a small builder that was going to build some, would he be using your pre-approved permits and design?
No.
He'd just like his own designs.
Sure, just like Legacy, they have their own floor plans. Yep. Another builder will use their own floor plans. They may look I mean, you know, they may look similar, you know, I think, but, you know.
The other thing I wanted to ask you about was the development impact fees. And I don't know, have they gone up? So in other words, I mean, I see everything's gone up in price, but the impact fees, have they gone up?
As staff, I can help answer that. So as part of the development agreement, the fee schedule is connected with that on what the fees are, and so they are locked into the term.
So they are locked in?
Correct. That's part of the development agreement.
Has this agreement ever been amended? Maybe
No.
that's a question for Sean. Has this?
No.
It never has?
No.
What about when COVID hit? Did you get an extension?
Yes,
for
we did.
completion?
We did get an extension.
Okay. Okay. That's not really an amendment then, I guess, it's just an extension, right?
For the record, that is correct.
I just wanted to kind of touch on something that Commissioner Gibson touched on, and that is the bicycle paths. They're supposed to be kind of throughout, as you said, and I noticed in going through that it seems there's kind of inconsistent. Sunny Slope has a bicycle trail that's marked on the right-hand side, for example, but on the left-hand side by the school, there's no markings or ID. But if you look carefully, there is two signs, one at the top and one at the bottom, that says no parking. I guess my question on that would be, is there a way we could have those folks that are picking up their kids from Santana Ranch still be able to park there with room enough to have a bicycle path? Because if not, they're parking right in our bicycle path. I guess that's kind of staff-directed question.
Yeah, we can work with our Public Works Director and see if there's any way that we can kind of, if that's more of a county work that we can implement.
If you can work with them,
Yes.
maybe. If you know where I'm talking about, and those parents got to pick up their kids. They got to park their car somewhere.
Yeah.
But if you're a bicyclist, suddenly your bike lane is gone.
Yeah, and because it involves the school, we would also work with the school in regards to making sure that it's in compliance, something that we can do as part of the county without necessarily infringing into the development agreement. We can definitely look into that and try to see if we can.
And I'm not asking anybody to inform the signs that say no parking.
Sure.
But what would be the resolution there if you couldn't have room for both?
Right.
Because you can't say that that's a bike lane and also have it be a parking spot.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll look into that. Absolutely. Thank you for that.
And we asked about impact. So one of the things I wanted to ask you about was on the linear trail. There's above Castle Rock, there's a number of residents who have a V ditch in their backyard for water runoff. And all those neighbors are really not happy about that V ditch in their backyard. Would you guys be willing to put an additional V ditch on the other side of the fence so we don't bear the responsibility of well, there's a couple of issues with that ditch, I think. If, for example, we have a common ditch running along the back of our backyard with 7 homes. One of the homes at the top of the hill decides to put, say, for example, a chicken hen house right above that ditch. Now you have a problem because when it rains, that all washes down to the neighbor. And I know that we really want to be responsible for water runoff and take care of what our water is, but it seems that if we want to be a good neighbor, we don't want our water to go onto our neighbor's property, and it would be the same for you guys, I think. And I think you're probably willing to do that. Maybe you can work with staff to figure out something.
Yes,
along
yes.
those
So
lines.
work with staff to figure out something, and there's the PG&E easement there, so we just, but I'd say we will work with staff to figure out something there.
That would be a big deal for some residents, I
Yes.
can tell you that.
Yeah, and we want residents to be happy too. We don't want, water coming down a hill, so that's a good recommendation.
And and maybe you can explain, so we have all our water currently, where we live, that goes underground in a tube and goes out to the front of the house.
Sure.
And then percolates up.
Sure.
And in phase 9, am I correct?
Yes,
Phase
yes.
9? They're now just dumped out at the house, and maybe you can explain why you
Sure.
didn't.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so we had kind of midway through the project, we had the state water boards. I don't know if it was a staff change or what, but they gave us direction that they wanted all the downspouts disconnected from the house. Their goal is all about slow the flow of water. So they want, instead of having the water go in the gutter and then the drain pipes and then straight into the drain system, they wanted to go down the downspouts and then kind of open up into the yard and try to percolate into the soil before going into the drainage system.
So it's to slow the water flow.
That's correct.
So when it rains really hard, you don't have an inundation of.
That's exactly
That's the
correct.
reason behind that?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. And I heard, and maybe, I don't know if this is staff or Sean questioning you, some of the neighbors had mentioned a class action lawsuit. Can I ask that of staff or the attorney? Is there, there's
You can
rumors of
ask.
that.
I have no idea about it though.
Okay.
Myself.
I'm just gonna let it go then. And again, the Cal Fire, you seem really willing to work with them. We appreciate that.
Sure, sure.
That's a kind of a big deal. There's a lot of walkers. People
Yeah.
come from out of the community to walk
Sure,
that area.
sure.
And if you're not gonna, where the cottages are and where you have to have connectivity.
Yeah.
It's a safety issue.
Yeah, we agree. We would like to see the sidewalk there. It's just we got kind of stuck in that Sacramento, and it's great to hear that one of the commissioners mentioned that there are some local people here that seem like they want to get that done. So I would say, Ariel, Abraham, please, if you want to kind of introduce us, we'd be happy to work on that with you, us, however you want to proceed. So.
And just for the commission, staff has started some conversation with Hollister Fire and gotten some context this week that we'll be following up on that as well, and working through that.
It's just a note that it seemed like a lot of I'm looking at this and the dates there's no dates. Was there a reason why a lot of this stuff doesn't have a date on here? Staff? No? It's just a miss. It's not a big deal. I just noticed there was, in the original signing, but let me ask you this question about the commercial space.
Sure.
On the original map here, it shows it to be residential. But when was that changed to commercial?
So the school district originally was in the center of the project, and then we worked with them. They then asked if they could move to south of Sunny Slope. That was where they wanted to locate. And after they looked at traffic more, they decided that it would be better to locate north of Sunny Slope where they are now. So that was their third location. That was originally where we planned the commercial. We always thought that the park would be really nice next to the school. And then we liked having the apartments next to the park. And so that was how the commercial ended up. Instead of being at the corner of Sunny Slope and Fairview, it's now at Hillcrest and Fairview.
Do you have any takers on any of the spaces for that commercial property?
Yeah, we have some interest. I think they would like to, continue to see, more of the rooftops, more of the homes, the customers. And so our team is very experienced that we're working with. And right now we're just collecting interest and, both from either a commercial developer or if it's something that we can do ourselves if we get enough interest. So we're exploring kind of going down those two parallel tracks. Did you have any recommendations of what retail uses might be a good fit in Santana Ranch for
We're in need of everything.
Sure.
So I think anything that we get there would be, everybody would be really happy about it.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, restaurant would be great. We've put in, I personally filled out that Trader Joe's form many times, but I know that's, yeah, hey, that'd be great. That'd be great. I saw there's some article, was it like Trace, where does your son live? Where was that one?
It's in the dunes at Marina.
Oh, that's great. Okay, that's great. Yeah, and
Just opened it about 2 months ago.
okay, great. Yeah, so I would say if anyone likes Trader Joe's, please go on their form and fill that out, because, we would love to see a grocery store there.
Great.
It just, it's like Trader Joe's just won't call us back right now. But they say keep filling out that form, so.
We'll keep working on it.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, other uses I could just share, like maybe coffee and sandwich and gas station, those are some that we're exploring at the, no gas.
Yeah,
no gas. All right, well.
I wanted to also touch on the lighting that.
EV chargers, those would be good. We're gonna put some of those in the apartments, I think, as well, so.
I wanted to touch on the lighting a little bit. One thing I've noticed throughout the Santana Ranch is that it's not as bright, and you may think I'm saying that as a negative, but I'm saying it as a positive. I'm just curious, maybe staff, what was the minimum mandatory standard that you followed for the lighting, street lighting for Santana Ranch? It would give like a lux number or a lumens number. And I think it's great that we decided to go with lesser light. So I'm just curious how that came up.
We'll have to confirm with the county ordinance, but normally for projects like this, Commissioner Ringhaden, there is a study, illumination study, that's important to be able to adopt, because that gives the lighting that's supposed to be provided, and that's pretty critical, because God forbid there's an accident or someone, like, lawyers right away start looking at, well, was there enough illumination on, on the development, which, may, it could have been that because there wasn't enough, or it was too much, it was too bright. So all of that is looked at to make sure that proper illumination is provided. But there is a section, go ahead.
So we have our dark skies ordinance, and then there's different zones in there. I believe you guys are within zone 2, and so it reduces the amount of light with still taking into account all the safety requirements.
Thank you. I think it's a benefit to everybody to have less light there. It's light pollution is a real thing. It ruins which brings me to my next point. On the walking path, the linear trail, especially behind Castle Rock, it'll be a little bit of a dark area. I videoed it and walked up there, and it's stunningly beautiful, but very dark. My fear is that we'll have, teenage parties going on there, not to impugn them for what they want to have fun with. But is it possible to consider some low-impact lighting, maybe some bollards or something?
Yes, after you and I had talked about the linear park, we did email PG&E just to ask if we could put some lighting in their easement. So we're waiting to hear, but we're happy to work with staff and see what we can do.
Okay, great. I mean, I think that'll be a very popular spot to walk, especially in the evening.
Yeah, and I think, and thank you for that recommendation, because we don't want the homeowners, being unhappy with teenagers.
You don't want the sheriff to have to come out.
That's right.
Right. Thank you. I think that's most of my questions for now.
Okay, thanks. Other questions from the commission for?
Not a question, just a statement. I would ask that going forward that you, I'm going to borrow the language from a DA for the solar. Owner shall exert in good faith its best efforts to have all sales and use tax occur in the county and also use its best efforts to direct its contractors and subcontractors to have sales and use tax occur in the unincorporated area of the county. So going forward, please try to get a sales tax from all the materials that go into the construction, whether it's the remaining residential or the commercial, or both preferably, because as you know, we're in a bad spot.
Yes, yeah, we will tell the subcontractors that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Frank, where?
Hi, Frank Guerra. I just wanted to circle back to Commissioner Scaliotti's comment about the walking path on the landscape buffer. There was a meeting, like Michael said, about this time last year, maybe a little later, when I went for approvals. Mrs. Snyder was here. The plan went up on the board that the 25-foot buffer with a walking path. We went outside and talked after the meeting. Mrs. Snyder was not happy that there would be people walking along their property line. That was my opinion. Michael said, you got to go to the county, and, you know, because that was, at that point, it was a part of the plan. So I don't know about Mr. Snyder. He wasn't at that meeting, but Mrs. Snyder seemed to be unhappy with having people maybe walking on their, alongside their property. I think that's how it got changed, so.
Well, maybe they better get together and figure out their story.
You know, that's not gonna happen with.
Yes.
Um, Commissioner, Chair?
Yes.
One question. Since the county, Mr. Anderson's, is in dire straits, and you have that nice commercial center you're gonna start to do, is there any way that maybe you could consider donating a nice sized lot for a firehouse? Or giving the county a really super great deal?
Well, we certainly can.
Take that under consideration,
we certainly
please.
can explore the, you know, I think it's always good to talk and see where it goes. Just like, you know, it was kind of outside that we were talking about with Barbara Snyder and the walking path, and we didn't even realize, you know, we thought she wanted the walking path, and she said she didn't, and I you know, sorry, it sounds like her husband wanted something different, but anyways, it's good to talk, try to figure this out.
I'm worried about fire protection.
Okay.
That's past tense now.
Okay.
Okay.
So staff, for that request, staff would need to review against the specific plan to make sure it might not have been included as one of the potential uses. And I don't have that off the top of my head, so, but we can go look into that.
Potential use for a fire department, I think that should be passed through pretty fast if something can be worked out.
Yes, we'll look into it.
Sorry. What's the size of a fire station? Do you know how many acres are an acre, or?
I don't know. I'm just asking if
Okay.
there's something there that you can help the county with, since we all know we're in dire straits for fire.
Sure.
If there's something there that the Anderson communities can think about, that's all I'm asking.
Yeah, I'd say, you know, if we could, Ariel, if we can start by, just let us know what, you know, like a footprint, how big for the fire station, and, you know, we can go from there.
That's up to staff. They need to figure that out.
Will, is there enough room on that commercial area?
It's a 10-acre
So
site, so there's room there.
So what would that look like, maybe contributing the property and then having the county, you know, I mean, the truth is, the more that you can help us with, really the better, because we, as you know, are financially in dire straits here.
Sure.
And fire is a big issue right now.
Sure.
So, yeah, you could be a hero.
Okay. Well, I say let us know how big the site is first, and yeah, we're certainly open to talk about it.
Yes, staff can take a look at that further and work with Mr. Anderson.
Okay. All right, thank you. So, hearing no further questions from the commission, let's open up public comment.
In chambers, we have Bridget, I believe.
Hi, good evening, Chair, Commissioners. Good to see you. I was very interesting listening to Mr. Anderson. I live in Santana Ranch. I moved there 9 years ago, and I can't wait for the linear trail. I've been waiting for 9 years, by the way.
Bridget, please address the commission.
And the park trail is just way too small, and it's a joke for so many homes. And I would like to invite Mr. Anderson to ride a bike at Santana Ranch. I like to ride my bike. I ride the bike I go across the intersection, Sunny Slope, and across Fairview. I am extremely afraid to go across the intersection. I'm also afraid for children crossing the intersection. Trucks go through red lights. I've been hearing from quite some people that are going through the red light at 60 miles per hour, maybe faster. At the last second, that intersection is extremely dangerous. And I don't want to even go across this intersection when the school is on or out, when the parents pick up their kids. So I cannot say this wasn't very good planning at all, this intersection. And it's really not safe. It needs to be made safer. There needs to be pedestrian crossing in bright yellow lights. There need to be flashing lights, stop sign. It's not safe. And also people are speeding on Sunny Slope Park Trail. A lot of people have been complaining that their kids almost got hit by cars. So there need to be speed bumps or speed humps and more pedestrian crossing signs also. And again, we have a school K-8, and there's a lot of traffic in the morning and in the afternoon. It's very, very dangerous. So I just wanted to point that out. So I have to say this is, in my opinion, was very poor planning, that intersection. And yes, so I lived there for 9 years, and I have to say we need more parks. It's a joke. I really have to say it's a joke. I'm really mad. I live on Sage Drive. On Sage Drive, from the bottom, from Fairview to the top to Castle Rock, there's no park. That little park trail is too small. I mean, it's just, I've seen other developments, they made more of an effort. So I hope Mr. Anderson makes up for it with a linear park and maybe extra smaller parks. And not only touch playgrounds, we also have older kids, school kids. We need a playground for older kids. So, thank you.
Next in chambers, we have Maureen Nelson. You may now approach the podium.
I have a cell phone. You're welcome.
Good evening, Chair, Committee. I live in Santana Ranch. I actually live at the little trail, the little park. So the park starts at Park Trail Street on the east side. The next street is Castle Rock, which is mine. We have both an east and a west. And then it ends above us. Did I say Castle Rock? Golden Star. And then it ends at Castle Rock. So this little wind park is basically passing one street, starting at one, a street in the middle, ending at the next. It's not very big at all. We appreciate what it is, but it is very limited, and that's all we've got at this moment. I'm excited about the linear park, but to say that it won't be opened until all of the houses are finished would mean that I'm gonna ride and get on the first part, stop, turn around, back up, go back, and then come back to my house instead of making it circuitous, a continual movement. That didn't make sense to start a park and stop it until you get the rest of the houses done. I realize it's a cost impairment, but it is also in a community that is of high expense, and we expect it. I'm sorry to say that. The apartments, affordable housing, one of my neighbors moved into the apartments and her apartment was $3,400 a month. That's affordable housing? My God. I realize I got to put a nice down payment on my house, but man, I don't pay $3,400 a month in a house payment. So the community is wonderful. I appreciate it. I appreciate all that you are doing. I'm glad that you're listening to us. I'm glad that this board is listening to us and that we can take this all into account. I wanted to talk about the sidewalk in front of the fire station, but that's already been addressed because that's pretty ridiculous. You walk along the street on Fairview and you have sidewalk and then you have a wood barrier and you have to go inland. And then you walk and then you can come back out and go back to the street at Hillcrest. I don't understand that we were told that the fire department said no, that they didn't want an access. They didn't want a sidewalk there. I'm not sure that is the real case, but I appreciate the fact that I'm hearing tonight that there is discussions and that may be addressed. So after that, I think we're in pretty good shape. So I appreciate all the work and come walk our parks.
Thank you.
On Zoom, we have Valerie Eglin. You have now been unmuted. You have 3 minutes.
Yes, good evening, Commissioners and public. This is Valerie Eglin, Reach San Benito Parks Foundation and previous planning commissioner. I'm very happy to see how many residents of the Santana Ranch area have spoken up about the walking paths and the bicycling. When I was on the commission, we also spoke a lot about connectivity in that whole area with bicycling and walking, and with the Riverview Regional Park not seeing any kind of advancement for several years. We really do need to have our neighborhoods given priority as far as connectivity and just for mental health of getting out of the house and into the fresh air. Because along a street is not always fresh air, but at least you're moving. You're getting up off the couch and out the door. So thank you very much for addressing that, and good job.
That concludes public comment.
Okay. Thank you. Public comment is closed. Bringing it back to the commission.
Really quick through the commission, while we were doing public comment, I did look it up, and public service facilities in the commercial areas is conditionally permitted, so we could move forward with that.
Oh, great. Thank you. Much appreciated. Okay. Discussion within the commission. Yes.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay.
I have a I'm sorry, go ahead. I have I was just looking at the numbers. They must have gone up for low income and moderate income. I mean, if you're low income now, are these numbers changed for if you wanted to apply for low income housing, and have these numbers that you are in here, have they gone up?
It really depends on the area median income. My understanding is that I believe it's the same number for a family of 4 as it was last year. I believe it's 141,200. So then from there, it really depends. The moderate is 80% of that. Low is very low, I believe, is 25 to 50. Low is 50 to 80. Moderate is 80 to 120. So it really just depends on that. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I guess we are tasked with deciding whether to certify compliance of this report. Are we comfortable doing that tonight? Do we want to make a motion to do that?
Yeah, I'll make a motion, but I'd also encourage the Anderson Homes et al. To work on those items that were discussed, please.
Absolutely.
So before the, let's see, I move to adopt resolution number 2025-next, a resolution of the Planning Commission of the County of San Benito, California, declaring a statement of compliance under periodic review pursuant to section 19.11.012 of the San Benito County Code for a development agreement by and between the County of San Benito and Santana Ranch land owners, fix the typo, landowners dated November 2nd, 2010.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Moving into commissioner announcements, I have one. Commissioner Gibson pinged me by email earlier in the week and is requesting that we set up a special meeting, which I agree with. And he can explain further, but just briefly summarizing, and I'm going to try to capture what he and I talked about, but he can do it better than I can. There is concern, and rightly so, that there is a significant risk of fire, and in fact, we've seen some fires already, both with battery storage facilities and also with solar farms, and these risks are enough that these facilities, we both think, require, in some respects, special treatment, both in terms of mitigating the risks and in terms of, in some cases, maybe capturing the costs involved in fighting fires if the fires are caused by either inherent operational risks of the facilities or failure to do activities that would have prevented the fires in the first place. So we'd like to set up a special meeting at some point in the not too distant future to address those sorts of things. Does that more or less capture what you're...
That was perfectly vague. I love it. I was afraid, yeah, that's vague enough.
Well,
there won't be any issues.
Please feel free to elaborate.
I don't know if it needs to be a special hearing or just perhaps a meeting with staff to discuss concerns and perhaps
That'd be fine.
take
too.
a look at forming or changing policy to address the issue, because we've had California has suffered a lot of issues with solar and battery storage that I think we need to figure out how to address, whether it's through weed abatement or some other form of policy.
Yes, so staff begun on Monday looking into the issue with the fires last week, reviewing the mitigation measures, reviewing the conditions of approval, and have so far spoken with fire, spoken with Pinoch Solar, working on scheduling site visits, and so we're following through on that. We're still collecting all that information, and so having a special meeting, it'd be good to have a clear direction if you just want meetings with staff where we can schedule that and who.
And to be 100% clear, we do not know at this point what the cause was or is of the current fires yet. So no one is trying to imply that we know that yet. So.
No, but I think it would be worth looking into having discussions about forming
Going forward,
policy.
yes, absolutely. Policy, not blame. Policy, yep.
Correct.
Yep.
And I think offline meetings, whether it's individually or two at a time, plus one individually to discuss options, and then perhaps have a special meeting once we have something formulated, as opposed to having a 4-hour meeting, throwing out all kinds of ideas and see what sticks.
Yeah, we plan to be bringing the development agreement at the August meeting and review, but in between then we can have meetings with the commissioners.
Okay.
Okay, let's work via email then on that. Okay, sounds good. Go ahead.
I wanted to bring something up that you reminded me when we were talking about the fire, and this is kind of directed towards staff, and that is that last summer, there was notices given by CAL FIRE to folks on Castle Rock that had the weeds grown a little bit too high and they hadn't maintained it, and CAL FIRE gave, I think, 4 notices out there. Yet on the other side of the fence, where we had the walking trail, the linear walking trail coming, I tried to figure out what are we going to do to get that turned or mowed, and I really had a hell of a time, and nothing ever got done. And as we know, the year before, there was 2 fires back there, one by the water tower, and then another one. I know that the linear trail is coming, thank you, but in the interim, I see now that we have the same situation again, where we have, I took a picture of it, really the weeds are about 4.5 to 5 feet tall. And who do we talk to get that addressed?
So that's kind of going back to the last item, but staff will work, can work through that between Public Works, Fire, and Planning. So we can address that for Santana Ranch and as well.
Appreciate that. I mean, it seems, it doesn't seem fair to the folks.
Good song.
Thank you, sorry. That we'd be asked to do this, and we all complied and did it, and yet on the very other side of the fence, there's nothing that got done. So hopefully this year we'll get some of that taken care of.
You got it.
Thank you.
Okay. Other commissioner announcements?
Yes.
Yes.
I'd like to request 2 future agenda items. One of them is an overhaul of the development agreement ordinance itself. I think we should have some more issues addressed, standard issues such as the sales and use tax.
Yes.
I think we could also add it as a condition of approval. I don't know why we are doing things one-off instead of having standard sections. It doesn't make sense to me. I would like to add all that stuff, and I'd also like to request a presentation from Steve regarding our various undergrounding requests and see what, if anything, has happened since last year. So hopefully I can get people to join me in those requests.
So for the first request, staff has actually already been working on the development agreement ordinance with county council, and so that will be forthcoming.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Thank you. Anyone else on the undergrounding presentation update?
You're talking specifically about the section 20?
Yes, the rule 20 for the South Side and Enterprise Roads.
I did talk to staff about Rule 20 the last time we did an agenda review, and I'm struggling to recall. I believe you told me that it was coming?
Yes, I think it's, I don't have the schedule in front of me. I think it was on August meeting, or sorry, Steve, come help me.
Yeah, we can put it on the upcoming meeting, but we've already reached out to PG&E. They responded, they gave us information, we're responding, so we're on round 3, but we'll give you an update. I don't know if it's agendized yet, but we've been working on it, so. Yeah, so one of the meetings in August, we'll have that presentation for you.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks. All right.
That's it.
So I guess the next item is item 10, adjournment. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries 5-0. We are adjourned at 9:05. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, guys.